team includes individuals with relevant expertise will help guarantee that the candidates are asked the right questions and evaluated through the lens of our district's most pressing priorities. Thank you.
Thanks, Jess. Lori?
Lori Markoff, 280 Mark Tree Road. I know that Barb and Jess spoke to a number of things, and I absolutely agree with everything that they said. I also was surprised that the screening committee was chosen without community input, and then surprised that the committee included no one with specific expertise and commitment to equity. Given that the equity audit found that it's students who are from underrepresented populations, the students with disabilities, and the students who are LGBTQ+, who are struggling the most, and also, given the mental health report that said that these same students were most likely to be experiencing anxiety and depression, I expected that one of the goals in hiring a new superintendent would be to address these gaps in our system. To do this, we need to have input from the students and families who are most vulnerable into the process by which we choose a new superintendent. The current process shows a poor understanding of what equity is. What happened is that meetings were created for community members, which allowed equal access instead of anyone thinking carefully about what it would take to get input from those who are most vulnerable, who are least likely to show up at a meeting like this and to speak publicly. To get their input, we have to reach out in particular ways. Someone who really understood equity would have known this, and there is no one on the screening committee with real expertise in this area. Therefore, no one to examine the screening process for procedures that might result in inequities. I know that there are people in Holliston who are concerned about our school rankings and their impact on property values. We say that we are a data-driven system, but who involved in the superintendent search knows that the data show that schools that achieve better inclusion have better academic performance than schools that have less inclusion. Someone who knows that and knows how to achieve it should be on the selection committee so that we can choose a superintendent who will prioritize equity and inclusion as at least one strategy to improve our ranking. Thank you.
Thank you. And Robert?
Thank you. Hi, folks.
Hi.
Thanks for your work, always. So I appreciate everything that's already been said, and I want to add some kind of granular as well as big picture to what's been said here. And so I share the following in relationship to this process, search process. First of all, to push myself to understand truly what we're trying to accomplish at this inflection point for Holliston. And certainly choosing a superintendent is a big inflection point. And it's got to be something that's going to create greater change for greater access and equity, thus greater health and well-being for more of us, not just some of us. That's a big, big vision, but it has to drive us. So I'm putting that at the top of the framing, and there's no in between. We go backwards, we divide further unless we focus on it doing that. Because the truth and the larger context is this of what we're trying to do in Holliston at the micro. Inequity in America has been and continues to be completely normalized. Inequity is normalized. And it's getting worse. The gap in access and equity is only growing nationally in every nook and cranny of this country. Now, I'm going to give you some figures because I believe this is the context we're working in. 47 million Americans experience food insecurity. That's a context. 37 million Americans are in poverty, and 3.17% of those people live in Holliston. Those are the context in which we're trying to do work. I'm sorry, not of the million, the Holliston population, 3.17. So none of this is true because of, people can say, well, there's so much disruption in the federal government. No, it's been going on for years. It's not new. We live with inequity as part of our day-to-day period. I'm not throwing darts at anybody. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. This is us. But that's the larger context of what we're trying to change here at this inflection point. So that's the big picture. We need to choose leadership for the change we need, leadership that we can partner with and do a better job of advancing equity. Advancing equity, not just this other thing that we do. It's got to be a focal point, as well as defining the education for our children that creates a next generation, get this, of equity-focused citizens. The education we never got. None of us. That's what we're trying to do. That's how big the change is, right? So how does that, so down to the granular specifically, and I just got a couple of points here about, you received a document, Advancing Inclusion, the HBCS, Holliston Public School Superintendent Search, that was sent your way. That we talked to some citizens, we talked to people who work in the district and got their feedback. One of the primary things they wanted to see out of this process was that we look for evidence regarding each candidate's capacity to engage in equity-focused, inclusive, and culturally responsive practices, specifically what each candidate had actually already done to produce changes in policies, practice, and outcomes in prior work regarding equity and inclusion. Okay?
We're getting close to time, so just...
Yeah, so you have all this information, okay? And folks pointed out that we didn't see any evidence of change in how the committee was put together for the search process, whatever the committee's called. Okay, this language and this information about what this leader needs to look like and be focused on needs to be somebody that's distinctive. Thank you. Appreciate you listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I guess I will just respond very briefly. We are running a whole process here. Sorry, before I do that, I know there's someone who came in late. Did you want to speak tonight too? Okay. Was there anyone else in the room that wanted to speak before I say something?
How about online?
And is there anyone on Zoom? This is this will be when we're offering public comment. So if there's anyone else that wants to say something, this is the time to do it. Once we start with the agenda, we're going to keep going. So, but HYA, we've been working very closely with them. We share all of those concerns. I'm glad that it felt like we were at least having some conversations about some of this stuff. I want to be working with all of you. I do think we value very much some of the same things. HYA has been running a process with our whole community. They have talked to many, many people, over 30 hours of interviews, forums, community groups, surveys. For people who aren't feeling comfortable, we had the survey in 3 languages. We are reaching out. We will be hearing from HYA shortly. They will be presenting their leadership profile that is a whole collection of all of the feedback that we've received from the community. And I think it's created a really good picture of what we are going to be looking for in a new superintendent. And I thank everyone in the community who participated. I thank you for coming to our meeting tonight and sharing your thoughts. It's a continuous process. We're still working on it, and I'm looking forward to see where it goes. So thank you. Does anyone else have anything? Okay. I think we do have HYA here on Zoom. Let me just make sure I haven't missed anything. Okay, so I think we'll continue. Hi, Sue and Karen and Doug.
Hi.
We're going to turn this, so we've got Sue.
You ready for us?
Yes, we are ready for you. So,
Okay, so we're going to share our screen. And this way can you see us
Yep.
clearly?
Yep.
The presentation?
yes.
Oh, great. That's good. Well, I'm Dr. Susan Diney. I'm a senior associate with HYA, and we have the pleasure this evening of presenting the leadership profile report to the committee and to the community in Holliston. I want to preface it by saying thank you to everyone, to the community who is so welcoming to us over the last several weeks that we were working in the district. We were greeted very warmly, and people were very candid in speaking with us, sharing their ideas, and we really appreciate that. And I think you'll see in the report tonight, we're going to share with you a summary of what we've heard. Certainly, we encourage everyone to take a look at the report itself, take a look at the survey information, and you'll get a lot more detail. So tonight's presentation is really a summary of all the findings. I'm here with my two colleagues, Karen Shaw and Dr. Doug Schuch, and we're going to share the presentation this evening. Karen and Doug, did you want to say hello or say anything?
Just want to thank everyone. Just like Sue said, we had such a wonderful time actually being in Holliston and meeting everyone and all of our Zoom meetings. It's great getting to really know your community. So we really took a lot of time, and we appreciate everyone else's time. A lot of meetings and a lot of time. I know all of your time was precious. So thank you all.
And for my part, I'd just like to echo the comments of Sue and Karen. We were welcomed. Some of the things that we heard, I know were difficult for people to share, but we feel like they shared them authentically and from the heart. And it's helping us get to the point where we are tonight, where we feel like we can share back with you something that can really shape this process and should shape it moving forward.
Okay, so we'll get started. So over the last several weeks, we've had the opportunity to come into the district, whether in person or via Zoom, and conduct interviews, focus groups. We've had open forums, and we invited a very broad range of individuals to meet with us. In district, we met with your school committee. We met each person individually. We met with your sitting superintendent, with your assistant superintendents, members of your administrative team, union leadership, staff from your district office, staff in your school buildings, your nurses, support staff, your paraprofessionals, and especially your teachers, your school resource officers. And I have to say, we had the pleasure and honor of meeting with your high school and middle school students who are absolutely fantastic. I think that was the highlight of all of our conversation. They were terrific, and they had so much to share, and they really, really loved their school. We also met with the larger community, and we had opportunity to meet with representatives from the town, including your town manager, your police chief, your fire chief, emergency services, and there's a list of individuals there who were mentioned. Holliston Youth and Family Services was present. We spent some time at the center meeting with some seniors there, and we also had a conversation with Diverse Holliston. We also conducted 2 community forums that were open to anyone in the larger community. We held one in person on Wednesday, November 5th in the Upper Town Hall, and the second one was a virtual community forum, and that was on Thursday, November 6th in the evening. So we really tried to cast a wide net and invite everyone to share their thoughts and ideas about what should happen in terms of the superintendent search. So this table shows you the number of participants in all of these groups who actually were in attendance and met with us. So that we met with a total of 125 individuals in person or via Zoom. And we asked each one of those individuals or groups the same 3 questions. We asked, how do you describe the strengths of the district? What do you see as the greatest challenges facing the district in the next few years? And then what characteristics and areas of expertise would you like to see in the next superintendent? And we had a wide range of responses. And I'm going to turn it over to Karen now. Karen's going to talk a little bit about what we heard.
I think it was actually to that part.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's actually me.
I'm sorry, Doug. Sorry. I was looking at my screen, and who's next?
That's okay. Well, thank you. And as Sue mentioned, the full leadership profile report that we've completed has a lot more details than what we're going to cover. Tonight, we're basically just giving you the highlights. But, as we gathered input from the individuals and groups that Sue just reported, it was really obvious that a primary strength of Holliston Public Schools are its people. Starting with, as Sue mentioned, the incredible young learners that attend your schools each day, as well as the adults who are committed to the safety, well-being, and academic success of each student and who foster welcome and inclusive learning environments. We also heard about signature academic programs and recognitions that are a source of great pride for the district, and also about a very supportive community that highly values education. Now, that was the first question, but in addition to those strengths, we also learned that the district is currently facing and will continue to face future challenges related to communication and the need for better collaboration among many of the key stakeholders, as well as in the areas of budgets, facility planning, curriculum, and staff recruitment and retention. We also heard the clear need for a unifying vision and a common sense of purpose to address all of these challenges in the future. And that helps us segue to the third question, which is, what are you looking for in a superintendent? And Sue will bring all this together with not just the people we spoke with, but also the survey that Karen's about to brief when I finish here. But from the groups themselves and the individuals, we did hear about specific expertise that people would like in the areas of budget, in curriculum and facility planning, especially with the potential need for a new high school, and other key areas of leadership and management. But the number one thing that came through is that people want a leader who is relationship oriented, somebody who can connect with people, individuals and groups, somebody who listens, somebody who can collaborate and maybe bring groups together that currently, for whatever reason, are not necessarily rowing in the same direction. And with all of that said, that's just the people that we heard from directly in these group meetings or in these individual meetings. But through our survey, we were able to reach a much greater audience. So now I'm going to turn things over to Karen, who's going to brief that information.
Great, thanks, Doug. So in terms of the survey, 613 stakeholders completed the survey, which really is a great response. We've had larger school districts with fewer number of responses, so it might not seem a lot to you, but it was great. It was available for about 3 weeks. We had it up. We really tried to get as many people as possible, and your district was great sending out reminders, and we also had it available in Brazilian Portuguese, really to make everyone feel comfortable responding. With the largest stakeholder group surveyed were the parents, and the parents represented about 55.5% of all respondents. Educators made up about the second most populous group, which was about 15.2%, and the third largest group with the students, which are 13.7%. So it's always great to have the students. As Sue said, we love talking to students, but they even participated in the survey as well. And going on, This is a research-based survey, and you will see the survey addresses district performance and desired characteristics of the next superintendent. So it's based on HYA's research related to superintendent leadership standards. So that's where you'll see on this it's vision and values, teaching and learning, community engagement, and management. All of the questions fall into one of those categories. As you can see, the highest, the district strengths that came up the highest, that the schools are safe. The district employs effective teachers, administrators, support staff. The social emotional needs of students are being addressed. Teachers personalize instructional strategies, and the district engages with diverse racial, cultural, and socioeconomic groups. And you can see the percentages right there as well. And then the key is what I had said. Going on to the top rated characteristics, the really highest one is they want the new superintendent to foster a positive professional climate of mutual trust, respect among faculty, staff, and administrators. So that really got the highest percentage. And in the survey results, which you have in front of you, you can see all of the constituent groups actually put that as one of their top 4 choices. And then you can see all the other characteristics as well. I don't have to read them all out. But this is what each, these were the top rated characteristics. I would like to say, it really did align mostly. The survey results really aligned very closely with the conversations we had, the focus group, the interviews. So we felt there was a connection in that area as well. So I also just wanted to thank everyone for sharing their comments. The school committee has received the comments, and it is really helpful and very authentic, and it's very appreciated. And also for anyone who shared with us potential candidates, that's how we get some of our best leads. So now that we're heading into the recruitment stage, thank you for all of those recommendations as well.
Okay. So looking at the responses from our interviews, our meetings, our focus groups, and looking at those characteristics that were shared with us through the survey, we compiled a list of desired characteristics for the next superintendent. And we shared these with the committee. And the committee, we're going to ask that you talk about it this evening. Let us know if we're on the right track, and this way then we can get started with recruiting in earnest. So as Karen and Doug said, you see here, these are listed in alphabetical order. The Holliston School Committee seeks a strong strategic leader who's authentic, compassionate, and a resilient individual dedicated to the long-term success of the Holliston School District and broader community, is a collaborative relationship builder who unites the school committee, staff, families, and community, a committed educator who supports equity, inclusion, and belonging for all students and staff, is data-informed and a student-centered decision-maker focused on what's best for learners, an educational leader who empowers administrators, teachers, and staff, an excellent communicator and active listener who is transparent, empathetic, and engaging. We have a nice list. Financially and operationally, an experienced leader in budgeting, labor and other negotiations, systems implementation, and school building projections. An instructional leader, deep knowledge of curriculum instruction and special education. A strong, strategic, and visionary leader who can guide the district forward with clear goals and purpose that prioritizes students. A supportive mentor and team builder who recruits, employs, and retains effective personnel throughout the district and its schools. And a visible and approachable presence in schools and the community, fostering trust and connection. And of course, this individual will need to be certified as a superintendent or capable of gaining certification in the state of Massachusetts, and that the individual would demonstrate a sincere commitment to the long-term success and well-being of the district. So that's what we heard from everyone, and there are many individuals who are out there who have many of these characteristics, and we will be searching for them. over the next several months. So we'll be quiet in the background. You may not hear from us as often, but know that we are doing that hard work of recruiting. And then in the months of January, early February, there'll be some interviews taking place with the screening team. And then we'll be presenting finalists to the committee. We're thinking about it in the month of February, maybe end of January. So by the March, early spring timeframe, hopefully there'll be an announcement. Hoping all things go well. We know that people are involved, and sometimes and weather and things might happen, but that's kind of our time frame at the moment. Our real goal is to find a very good match for the Holliston Public Schools, and we're very confident that we're going to be doing that. We've already started, as Karen mentioned, we have some names that people suggested, which we're very grateful and appreciative of. And we've also been reaching out to some individuals, and other individuals have been reaching out to us. So know that your district is a really wonderful place. We learned a lot about it while we were spending time there with you, and we're excited about the next steps. So I want to say thank you to all of you again.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have questions? Yeah.
Big questions.
Sorry.
So, what? Sorry, I'm having to laugh.
You're on a roll.
Oh,
You want to be
I'm on a roll? I haven't started.
Yeah.
You're on a roll.
Stop sharing.
Can you hear me? I'm usually quiet, so I'm going to try to project. So first of all, I just want to thank you for all the time and work that you put into this. I think that the 125 number really stood out to me as just a huge number of people that you have spoken to on a one-on-one or a small group sort of setting. Do you have an estimate of how many hours you spent in all of these conversations over the course of the last couple of weeks?
Well, I think each conversation, each meeting we had was approximately an hour. So if there were 125 individuals, and there were some small groups, probably you want to say about 100 hours? Doug, Karen, what do you think?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's just an incredible number of hours, right? 4 days. And that's with multiples of you, sometimes one, or So I just think it's really important to sort of recognize how many people you've spoken with in person. I will say, Karen, I know I talked to you about this in person. I was a little disappointed with our survey result, the survey participation number, but this is really incredible. I think this is very helpful as well, because you're really kind of getting that back and forth, and you can kind of see the person and hear from them. So I think that's great. I think that additionally, while the overall number of survey respondents was a little disappointing to me, I will say that having more than 10% of those people being community members without children in the schools was actually higher than I was expecting. So that was really great to see that we were having people that didn't necessarily have a direct sort of stake in the schools, other than the fact that all of the members of the community have a stake in our schools, playing a part. It was really good to have and to get their comments and feedback too, because they really kind of have a higher level view of what's going on, because they're not so much concerned about the day-to-day and what their specific child is experiencing. So I think that it's really good. As I look at the characteristics, again, I think that this is a really good list. I do see that there's some things that might be a little bit conflicting or hard to come by. Someone who has all of these things, but I think that this definitely represents a list of what we ideally would like to see, and hopefully we'll be able to find someone with as much of this as possible. So that's basically my comments on my quarter of this list. Obviously there are a few other tweaks here, and that's very specific things, but this is the kind of the high level stuff. So just really thank you, and I get that there's a lot of interest in this and desire, but I think that also as we go forward, there's going to be more community input as we go through with the process, right? I mean, this is not the end.
No, this is
It's really just the beginning.
Well, but I mean, as far as having more input from the community as we get further in, especially as we get to the finalist stage.
Good, Dan.
Well, I'm never, but sure.
So among the characteristics, how were you, because I know the screening committee
and we'll go through that as they see the candidates, but you'll be interviewing candidates to pass along. How are you prioritizing the desired characteristics?
Just want to jump in? Well, I think first and foremost, we're looking at someone who's a real relationship builder, and we're looking at their experiences where that we see evidence of that in their current role. We'll be looking at credentials, and looking at that list. I think relationship building really was moved to the top. So that really is, from my perspective, I think that's the number one. Karen, Doug?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I think relationship building is key based on all the conversations that we had. We do try as best we can to hit on as many of the characteristics as we can for each person. Obviously, not everyone is going to hit all of them. But we do try, the best we can to have a good balance. But some of the things that rose to the top was the relationship piece we think is pretty critical.
Understood. So when candidates are passed down to the screening committee, is that profile against the characteristics going to be provided, or is there going to be more details from the candidates that come, or is it simply we thought this, like we assess this person and we believe they should move forward in the process?
So as we look for candidates, as we're doing our recruiting, we're using that list of characteristics really as our guiding star. So the individuals who we will slate for the team will have, like Karen said, as many of those as we can match. So we are happy to share that list with the team who's doing the interviewing. That would be helpful. Really, the leadership profile report will be available to them. And when we looked at crafting questions for the candidates, our questions will most likely be aligned to that characteristic list. So we know what Holliston is looking for, so the questions that are going to be asked to the candidates will be directly aligned to that.
Understood. Thanks, Susan.
I was very thankful to see so much input by administrators, educators, staff. I think that more than 120 in terms of participating within the survey. I thought that was great news. And in terms of the characteristics that you outline here, this was after, it wasn't just the survey, it wasn't just the interviews, or rather I should say it wasn't just the questions on the survey, you also reviewed the comments, right? There were extensive comments that people were able to input into that survey as well, and then you reviewed those and put together these characteristics, correct?
Yes. And I think one of the things, and I think somebody mentioned it before, there was so much alignment. There weren't any surprises for us when we saw the results. Sometimes when we go into a district, we'll meet with individuals and then something will pop up in the survey that seems to be an outlier. In this case, we didn't see that at all. It was so much consistency and alignment between our conversations and what was reported through the survey. So that's really a positive. So everyone is looking for the same things, a lot of consistency.
Could you talk more a little bit about the community forums? How well attended were those, and did they express a lot of the same concerns and characteristics that we see in these slides?
Aaron, Doug, do you want to take that one?
Well, they weren't very well attended, to be quite frank with you. I think we had a handful in person at the town hall the morning that we were there, and just also a handful in Zoom we did the following evening. And so again, with just a handful, I think it would be hard to derive any great findings from that sample size. I would say, I think the most important thing about those opportunities was that you provided them to your community, and that we were there, just like the survey, for people who may have not been included in one of the kind of designated individual or group settings.
and what we did here at those meetings was consistent with everybody else, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do we need to vote on this?
Yeah, we do need to take a vote on accepting the leadership profile that's been presented. It will be posted to the website too, so people can really take a closer look at it.
I think I'm frozen. Oh, no, there we go.
Sorry. So I guess at this point, I'd entertain a motion to approve the leadership profile as presented by HYA. So moved. All in favor?
Was second.
Sorry, second. Yeah. Well, someday I'll remember all of the steps. All in favor? Okay, so that passes. So thank you so much. Do we have any?
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, we're
All
just
right.
looking forward
Talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is the teaching and learning presentation by
I
Dr.
invite the
Menard
team to come
and
on
all
up.
the coordinators.
Very excited. We have our whole district team with us here today. Starting on the end, we have our Krista Marino, STEM at Placentino. I'm not going to say curriculum specialist / interventionist. Be here all night. Jenny Mann, who's Placentino's Humanity. Ashley Bouchard, Miller's STEM. Kaylin Kinsky, Miller's Humanities. Carla Kraus, Rams STEM. Casey Conahan, Rams Humanities. Joel Stembridge, High School Humanities. I'm getting myself messed up here. Leah Barton, the High School STEM. And finally, Ida Pappas, Dr. Ida Pappas, who's our Unified Arts. So we have 2 presentations for you tonight, and I'm going to be driving it. So if I go in advance, can you guys just kind of give me the look, and we'll go there. I've already done the introductions. Why is this not? Okay. There we go. Go ahead.
So a lot of what you'll hear tonight, especially between the elementary buildings, will sort of parallel each other. So thinking about our role as sort of split between both intervention and curriculum. So on the intervention side, we are organizing strategic groups. We are planning and delivering interventions, so actually spending student-facing time, which is one of my favorite parts of the role. Lots and lots of data work, so reviewing, monitoring, analyzing, drawing conclusions, preparing materials. And then on the curriculum side, as you heard about within the last year, we've had the new adoption of Eureka Math Squared. So, Kristen's done such a great deal of work on preparing resources and materials for teachers and supporting them in that. Curriculum documents and reviews. So the math curriculum review just wrapped. We are in the middle of an ELA curriculum review, which we'll share more about this evening. Planning and providing and delivering professional development for our various PD days throughout the year. We also participate on our school-wide organization team, which is comprised of ourselves, our technology integration specialists, and building admin. And really all of this sort of anchored around teacher support and student support. So continuing along the lines discussing, our support of teachers, which is such an important part of our role. We're fortunate to be able to do some coaching, so that can look like, perhaps pushing into a classroom of a newer teacher who might need some support, or identifying a specific area of need that a teacher might have, and supporting them in that way. Both Kristen and myself have been classroom teachers, and so we really, draw back from that experience on a regular basis. Running curriculum meetings on a monthly basis with every grade level. For example, much of our work in these meetings over the past few months has been around our new report card and supporting teachers in preparing to implement that. Running data meetings, so after we administer our different assessments, both benchmark and progress monitoring, reviewing those with teachers, looking at trends, thinking about strategic groupings, students who may need support, so on and so forth. Implementing new curriculum. So like I mentioned, Kristen's done an amazing job of supporting the rollout of Eureka Math Squared, and just the immense amount of work around that. Curriculum reviews, a lot of this you'll hear repeating. Assessment assistance, so we assess our students across a variety of times throughout the year and different sort of domains. So providing teachers with assistance on administering it themselves, giving them some training, modeling, and then when report cards are due and they need help finishing, we are totally happy to roll our sleeves up and get in there with them and help them get those done. And then meeting with teachers really about anything, whether it's a more sort of formal meeting, conversation, popping your head into their classroom or our offices. Our goal is to support teachers and make them feel as supported and empowered as possible. So whether that's with the instructional materials or responding to a parent communication or talking to them about what a small group could look like in the classroom, it's a really big part of our role as well. So this pyramid is obviously a very familiar image that you've seen before. So thinking about how we support students in Tier 1, 2, and 3. I won't read through all of this because a lot of this will echo what I've already said, but we do have the pleasure of being able to work with students across all 3 tiers and all 3 settings. So supporting general classroom learning and core curriculum. At the Tier 2 level, obviously the students that we provide intervention to, child study, student support team, we have a new name for this team this year. I'm still getting used to it. Student support team meetings, so talking further with a team in our buildings about students who might need some additional support and brainstorming what that could look like. And then, participating in IEP meetings, coordinating with special educators, so we get to interact with all 3 tiers. With regard to our intervention structure, so we are fortunate to have interventionists in both literacy and math. Like I mentioned, both Kristen and myself also provide intervention directly to students. We have small groups running throughout the first part of our day. Every classroom has an identified WIN block, which stands for what I need. And so that means during that time period, there's no new classroom instruction being provided. And this is a structure we've had in place for a few years that we felt was really crucial to prevent students from missing instruction in the classroom when they were being pulled for other services. And so scheduling is a whole nother part of our job that should probably get its own slide, to be honest. But Kristen and I are both really committed to being flexible and creative with our schedule. And so if we have a student who has, a non-academic IEP, perhaps only speech goals on an IEP, or an English language learner, we coordinate with their classroom teacher to make sure that they're able to receive the services that they need in addition to any math or literacy support, and just standing on our head if we have to, just really making sure that we're providing what kids need, however that looks. With regard to data for intervention, so we have no shortage of data. In literacy, we focus primarily on our DIBELS data, which we give 3 times a year. We also progress monitor either bi-weekly or monthly. We use the primary screener for intervention, with the phonics screener for intervention, which allows us to see sort of at which level of phonics, which skill our students are proficient and where they're breaking down. In math, we have the universal screener for number sense, which is a newer assessment that Kristen brought in last year, as well as module assessments from Eureka Math Squared. And then in both literacy and math, we have the iReady diagnostic, also given 3 times a year. And then, of course, teacher input is heavily valued as well.
Yeah, this is the first year that we're using the number sense screener fully. Last year was kind of more of a pilot, and we did it for the whole school in January and in June, but this year we started right away. So it'll be on the same timeline as the DIBELS sweeps. Just another point for our younger learners.
And then with regard to our numbers in terms of the kiddos that we are currently reaching, so you'll see sort of smaller numbers in kindergarten. We believe really strongly in supporting all learners and our youngest learners especially. That being said, we know that for a kindergartner to be pulled out of the classroom is significant, and so we're very intentional and strategic about students that are receiving intervention especially at this point in the year in kindergarten. But of course, there is the need, and so we meet that need. And then the numbers growing larger in grades 1 and 2. So currently we have 64 students receiving literacy intervention. That number could change tomorrow, but at the time that I created this slide, that was our number. And then with regard to current staffing, I'm fortunate to have 4 tutors that I work with who directly service students during their time in the building.
Yes, and I'm currently down 1 tutor at Placentino, so I'm supposed to have 3 math tutors, but I only have 2 right now. We're still looking for a 3rd one. So if you know anyone who likes to work part-time in the morning and loves math, we can make it happen.
You have to work with kids.
You have to like kids too.
That's kind of part of it.
Yeah, it's kind of part of it.
And then this is just a brief update on our ELA curriculum review, and then I'll be done talking. Thank you for bearing with me. But so I know you've heard a bit about this work that we've started a year and a half ago at this point. So we are in the work right now. We are looking to complete this process by the end of this school year, which is really exciting. We were awarded a large grant from DESE back in May. So as part of that, we are receiving some coaching from a consultant group called School Kit, which is an amazing group of professionals who we've been working with since the summer. They came in October for a site visit. They spent a full day at Placentino, full day at Miller, and we got to spend the whole day going into classrooms, which was incredible. We will have one of our consultants coaches back next week for a PD session with our committee members, and then we're really diving right in. So thinking about the rubrics that we're going to be using to evaluate the different materials that we'll be looking at, narrowing down, the list of materials that we're considering, and then doing a pilot that we feel will allow us to get the information we need about the different materials we're considering while still, being reasonable and not too much of a lift on teachers. We felt it was really critical that we didn't have one group piloting one set of materials and one group piloting another. So we're going to be doing 2 smaller pilots where all people who are involved in the pilot will be piloting basically 1 unit of each set of materials. And then we will be back in front of you at the end of the school year making a final recommendation, hopefully. And then getting ready to really think carefully about what that implementation will look like. So we're really excited.
Thank you, Placentino.
All right, so I'm just to remind you, Caitlin Kinsky, and this is Ashley
Bouchard.
Bouchard, yeah. So at Miller, we also very similarly to Placentino, you'll hear pretty much the same spiel. We work very closely together with them, and our roles are extremely similar. So for intervention, we facilitate and administer assessments as well. We also use the iReady diagnostic. We use the DIBELS also 3 times a year for both of those assessments. And we also track MyPath usage, which is what students go on the computer to use to help them with their targeted reading and math skills.
We also, like Jenny had said, develop intervention schedules, which is funny because it is very taxing. So I actually reached out to Mr. McLeod back there earlier today to see if there was a better way with all these new data dashboards and PowerSchool and all the great things we have. There's got to be a better way because it is quite the jigsaw because a lot of our friends are very popular friends. So just trying to weave in their schedules. As well as instructional programs, so helping our tutors with the materials that they need.
Yep, and that just goes right into that plan, monitor, and deliver intervention. We make sure that the interventionists that we have everything that they need, that they're following along with what the students need, and that we just help them with their planning and organizing of things.
And we're also in charge of reviewing and tracking data, and there's a new tool that is open to our teachers. We're getting trained on it next week. iReady has a progress monitoring tool, which I think is going to be a game changer for our special educators as well as math interventionists, because our bandwidth is slim of what we have for progress monitoring. So I'm really excited to use this new feature to really dive into deeper data and track student growth. For curriculum-wise, we do a lot of collaborating with grade level teams and working with our grade levels to identify needs that they need or materials, resources, whatever we can help them better equip them to help our students.
As Jenny said, we're in the middle of a curriculum review for both ELA and for science as well. So obviously that's a big, what's the word I'm looking for?
Heavy lift.
Thank you. It's a heavy lift. Yes. It's definitely a heavy lift, and we're having a lot of really important conversations about that. School Kit has been extremely helpful, as Jenny said, and I know that they're re-looking at the science as well.
And with that curriculum is vertical alignment has come out of that. So with the standards-based report card, vertical alignment through the grade levels, writing cross-curricular, especially in science, looking at with the science review, vertical alignment in science all the way to Rams, to Placentino, to the high school. So a lot of curriculum work we're doing.
And then in addition to that, we also have to make sure that they have professional development to go with all of this new curriculum, these new materials, EM squared, and the vertical alignment that we're doing, the report card. So we have been planning a lot of professional development specifically around the standards-based report card, because that has also been a heavy lift for our teachers. And we also have been doing Eureka Math Squared, a lot of that too, because that's a new curriculum.
And then teacher support, we're working with administration, our digital technology specialist, to give our teachers the best resources that we can give them, and stay with the times with AI and using AI appropriately, and just working collaboratively together to help make the curriculum come alive for all of our learners.
Yes. Allie Curley is fabulous with that. So, Miller supporting teachers. So, basically, we meet with teachers as much as we can, and we work on planning and implementing professional development with our grade leaders and also with classroom teachers. We listen to their voices. We like to get their input on what they feel that they need to make sure that they are receiving the education that they want. We do a lot of co-teaching with teachers. We teach alongside them. We model for them. We plan with them alongside them. And we also help them with differentiating. So some of our work is also meeting with the special educators and making sure that what we're doing and planning with the teachers is also supporting all of the members of our community. We really enjoy meeting monthly with our grade level leadership team. They're really fabulous and very knowledgeable, and they come to the team with all of the concerns about that their team has as representatives, and then they also bring back any information that we share to them so that we can make sure that we're having constant communication. And then Ashley has also been running optional curriculum drop-in sessions for EM squared to make sure that they're able to, and iReady, yes, to make sure that they're able to access that information and know how to use the different platforms that we have, because both of these things are really fabulous online platforms and offer a lot, but that also means that we have a lot of learning that we have to do. And then finally, we're monitoring and analyzing classroom and school data consistently. I mean, we meet with teachers, we talk about student growth. If a student that we didn't have concerns about, all of a sudden the teacher says, well, I'm noticing this, we'll make sure that we're following up with them, we're giving them supports in the classroom, and then if we don't see growth, we're making sure that they get support maybe outside of the classroom. So there's constant communication with classroom teachers and making sure that they are receiving the support that they need, that the students are getting what they need, and yes.
And we're also working with Brenda Morrow and David Keim to loop them in on iReady, the iReady usage of MyPath, to loop in teachers, to get that. I know Brenda Morrow gets that out to staff weekly, so we're constantly updating, trying to stay ahead of the curve and push our teachers further. Like Caitlin said, we're implementing year 2 of Eureka Math Squared, woohoo. With that, we are utilizing the online assessment platform. So this unifies all of our assessments, and it also directly correlates to our new standards-based report card and achievement levels. So just understanding the rigor, the expectation, and really pushing our teachers further with implementation, as well as Tier 1 instruction and student engagement. We're developing common assessments across all domains and subject areas. This came out of the new report card as well, a need for it for all of us to unify and align. We're constantly reviewing and analyzing online assessment data, so I have that privilege, so my tutor and I are working on that, and I'm using that data to help drive instruction within our small group setting. And then identifying, gathering, and creating and distributing curriculum resources. I know Caitlin's been working really hard. We're in the ELA review. We need ELA resources, so she's been working her tail off trying to streamline for our teachers to give them what they need to help with the new report card until we can get the new resources in, which we're very excited for.
Very excited. All right, so speaking to data for literacy, so we use Dibble's 8th edition, which has been approved by the Massachusetts Dyslexia Standards, and we use that to make sure that we're screening for dyslexia 3 times a year. And we also use the PSI, which is a phonics screener. Jenny had talked about that as well. So as you can see, there's a lot of trends that we're trying to use similar things as Placentino so that the students aren't being exposed to new assessments. They're very familiar with them by the time they come to Miller. And then also the iReady diagnostics, and as Ashley mentioned, the iReady progress monitoring is something new that we're receiving PD on this week. So
upcoming week.
This upcoming week. Oh, it's already Friday tomorrow. So these are the things that we're doing. In addition to the PSI, I just want to say that if students were seeing we have concerns about phonological awareness, we might use David Kilpatrick's Equipped for Reading Success and just other screeners that we have that might not be listed here to make sure that we're getting a full picture of every child and what literacy skills that they might need to work specifically on. And again, if we're not seeing growth with that child with the targeted skills, then we're making sure that we bring that to the team and adjust accordingly. So, and then finally, obviously, and most importantly is the teacher input. I mean, the teachers are with them day in and day out, and they know their students so well, and we always look to teacher input. Even if a test maybe shows that a student might be on the cusp and a teacher's saying, this is what I'm noticing in the classroom, here's my data to support, then we'll make sure that we are taking that seriously and giving that child the support that they need to feel successful in the classroom.
And then added to that, we have MCAS, which is another data point that our students start with in 3rd grade, have MCAS to go off of. And then, as I said earlier, the EM Squared online assessments, and then iReady for math as well, with the new progress monitoring tool that we're very excited for. So for our intervention structure, very similar to Placentino, small group instruction, we have 2 literacy specialists. My math interventionist left at the end of September, so I was in a little hole for a little bit, but we just hired a fabulous new math interventionist. It's his 2nd week, and so far I've gotten thumbs up for every kid that's left the room, so that's a great sign, with a smile. So we use our win block. Again, no new learning is occurring during that time. They meet 2 to 3 times weekly, depending on student needs, so the more need, the more times you're going to meet, or smaller group setting, one-on-one setting if needed. Our interventionists run those sessions. We work with them to plan and help train our interventionists as well to make sure that they're delivering spot-on instruction, as well as progress monitoring. Did I miss anything?
No, I think so. All right, so talking numbers. So basically our goal at Miller is we want our numbers to decrease as students move through Miller, because that means that we are doing our job. So we definitely, children should not have to stay permanently in this Tier 2 intervention. And so as you can see with our numbers, it does seem like our students are decreasing as time moves along. Literacy, we have 31 students receiving intervention in 3rd grade and 21 in math. In 4th grade, we have 24 students and 20 in math. And for literacy in 5th grade, we have 18 students and 16 students in math. So our numbers are decreasing, and we both have 73 students, which we were...
It's strange. But.
Yeah, we're very aligned to that, apparently. So I have 2 fabulous teachers that are very knowledgeable, and then there's me, the one humanities specialist, and as Ashley just mentioned, she has a new tutor that she just hired, and he's fabulous as well. So we're very lucky that we have great people that we get to work with and collaborate with that provide intervention for our students.
And help make our program successful.
Yes.
Because they're open to new learning.
Yep. And then I also want to note that in addition to these numbers, Ashley and I do push into classrooms during Tier 1 instruction and sometimes during win time to help support those students that I was talking about that maybe might be on the cusp and need a little extra support, or
the students that we can't fit into schedules because of other needs that they have. Mm-hmm. So if there's a large number in that classroom, we'll push in to help support the teacher and pull small groups during Tier 1 instruction.
Yeah.
Thank you, Miller. On the Rams.
Hi, I am Carla Krause STEM, and this is Casey Conahan Humanities. You're going to hear a lot of repetition because we do try to keep things fairly similar, but there are enough differences. So in our role as curriculum specialists, on the intervention side, we have been for RAMS facilitating and administering our benchmark assessments. Our benchmark assessments at the middle school level are IXL based. We're making sure we've gotten every student in the building and that we have baseline data for them. We also then have to look at that data and figure out who is not performing at grade level so that we can then select out our intervention groups. From there, we develop our intervention schedules and groups and instructional programs. This year, there's a good amount of difference between math and ELA. Math has a tutor this year, which has been a big game changer on my side, so I can explain more about that. Casey is a one-woman superstar who is still doing it all on her own. So now when we get down to the next point, that's where now I'm planning, monitoring, interviewing students and able to better pinpoint their needs while the tutor is more implementing the one-to-one instruction or two-to-one instruction. Mrs. Conahan is also doing the Casey. I called you Mrs. Conahan. Is also doing very formal here. Is also doing the same thing. Again, she's running all of it, soup to nuts. So it's a big job. We are reviewing and tracking our data. We're monitoring progress. We are providing notes to teachers. We're providing notes to parents. So we're keeping that parent communication open, making sure they know they can communicate to us, especially around questions of, how is my child doing? How did they get here? What steps can we take? So we're also doing family communication. And then to facilitate communication across the district, we're also maintaining everything in open architect, so everyone who has a student from our point forward will get the whole history on the work that we've been doing with those students. Curriculum. On the curriculum side, we are collaborating with our grade level subject areas to identify curricular needs and resources, and really we're looking at what we can do for teachers that supports best practices in the classroom and supports changes that have come across through DESE and some of the language around performance-based assessments and transfer tasks, and lingo has changed, and how we're expecting that to be delivered has changed. So we're working with teachers to make sure everyone has a deep understanding of what that means. We are conducting curriculum reviews. Right now, we are in the science curriculum review, just getting back started again. And I'd be remiss not to mention that science at the middle school has been without any high-quality instructional materials for quite some time now. So it's a really great opportunity for us as a district to provide some of those high-quality instructional materials, and that will also enable us to better align K through 12 if we're all using instructional materials that are aligned to NGSS, which is the way that DESE has very much gone, and are also in alignment with each other so that students are getting similar experiences. Vertical alignment, we are very much vertically aligned in standards. We teach to the standards. We're definitely excellent. It's the pedagogy and making sure that what we're doing from one building to the next makes sense and it flows for our students and families. Also, our 6 through 8, when you get into the middle school, we're very focused on science practices, on the science side, so we're looking at how those practices align from 6 to 8 because they have to build in complexity. I believe in ELA and social studies, it's the same thing. So we're making sure that, yes, even though the practices are the same throughout, we're supporting that scaffolding. What does it look like at a 6th grade level through to an 8th grade level? We run the department meetings where we disseminate news, resources, again, work on that 6 through 8 internal alignment. And we also are working on our UBD Stage 2 documents. So a lot of that is conversation around making sure that we are providing the best possible product and instruction at the end of designing these new units. For teacher support, we also consult with teachers as needed, as requested, find time to meet with grade levels or individuals depending on needs. We have new teachers who come in who need a different level of support than those that have been here for a while. We help facilitate conversations at our department level to support the teachers and make sure we all have common understandings. We collaborate when people are looking for solutions to any number of different problems or concerns that come up in the classroom. We try to partner with the teachers to implement solutions, and of course, and I was going to say problem solving, but that's a little redundant, so that's what we've been working on. Casey?
You literally talked about my slide, too.
I'm sorry. Once I start.
I was like, wow, check.
Yes.
But just real quickly, so in supporting teachers, not only are we working on curriculum and instruction, and are we working on intervention within our own mini classrooms that we have, but then in supporting the teachers in the building. A lot of it really comes down to department goals, materials, alignment, as Carla was talking about, and really conversation more about pedagogy and instructional practices than content, because the content's pretty laid out for you. I did want to just emphasize that we are focusing heavily on the UBD documents right now in stage 2 to get the assessments documented, and what that's doing though is really creating a great opportunity for conversation about what our assessments look like, what are we asking of students, are we challenging them enough, are we asking them to perform a task rather than just know information, and then how are we evaluating that, what rubrics are we using, what criteria is essential, and so in some ways, this one small piece of a document has opened up really large but meaningful conversations across all of our departments. And so it's just been a really kind of exciting and creative process at the same time. Just since Carla talked about some of this, in terms of supporting teachers with intervention, obviously the data responding to teachers' requests for support, but one of the things we did was shift up a little bit of our process of how teachers reach out to us for intervention. So we used to meet with teams, and it really just became a talking about every kid that was of concern but maybe didn't fall within the intervention realm. And so we streamlined the process to create a checklist of criteria, areas of concerns, putting them into categories under literacy, under math, and executive functioning, and then social emotional. And through that process, it helps teachers identify which person is really the appropriate contact person. Is it a social emotional issue? And it's really something that we need to talk to guidance about rather than come to literacy and math. But, oh, we really are seeing weaknesses in writing or in computation skills. And so now we know who to reach out to, and we have very specific concerns that we've already thought through, and we can have really pointed conversations. So that's been a shift that we've made with that intervention recommendation process. Oh, I'm doing this one too. So similarly to the elementary schools, we have some standardized benchmark testing assessments. So at the middle school, we shift from iReady to iExcel. And we use that in both literacy and math. And along with the results of that, we look at MCAS data as well as teacher input, term grades as well, to help us determine which students qualify for intervention. We also look at incoming sixth graders and the lists from fifth grade in terms of who was receiving intervention, who's recommended to continue intervention, and who has been exited from that. Something new I'm doing this year in literacy is I've added the DIBELS. It goes through 8th grade, and so there's 2 tests there that continue into 8th grade. One is called the MAZE, and it's kind of like a baseline comprehension. And the other one is the oral reading fluency. And the reason why I picked that up was I wanted to look at consistency from where kids were previously to the middle school and how they're progressing on an identical test rather than all these new assessments. I've only done it phasing it in with 6th grade this year, and we'll do it 3 times a year to progress monitor them. And then we'll consider looking at doing that as well as they move into 7th grade and 8th grade. And I also have started using, I did this a little bit last year, the QRI-7, which is a more in-depth comprehension assessment. And part of why I'm doing this one is iExcel does give me a lot of information on what students are struggling with, but sitting with a student and really working with them on a comprehension assessment face-to-face is so enlightening. And it really, when I'm trying to dig into what is going on with a student, where their weaknesses are, nothing replaces sitting one-on-one with a kid and really listening to them read, listening to them answer questions, talk through their thinking. It just opens up a whole new set of insights for me. So I do that on an as-needed basis because it is a pretty lengthy test. But that's what we're doing to evaluate students. We track term grades as well, and then we just try to use all of that information to evaluate who needs intervention and in what areas and how can we support them best.
So for our intervention structure, Tier 1, we've changed our intervention structure a bit for a variety of reasons. Last year was the first year we had it at RAM, so it was kind of the beta test of everything and figure out what worked and what didn't. So a couple of changes that have come about. Tier 1 is kind of the universal level of support and things that should be provided in classroom. We've moved executive functioning as lessons into our RAMS block so that all students are receiving that organizational and executive functioning support, and that there's a place for that to live on teams. We are not, The grade levels and teachers are planning the executive functioning lessons based on what they're seeing in their classes, in their grade level, with their cohorts, so that it's more meaningful and it's not just going to be a general lesson. The Tier 2 is still happening outside of the classroom, and that's where we're getting into things that are specific in math or literacy. For Casey, her structure looks similar to last year in that she still has groups of 4 with her as the interventionist. And what's been a really big game changer for us this year is we're using unified arts blocks for intervention as well as RAMS blocks. So what we've done this year is sent out letters to identified families, let them know the pros and cons, let them know that they are coming out of a unified arts, but these are the weaknesses that were identified, and we work with the family to decide whether they'd like to take us up on the intervention instead of an arts block, and we still have a RAMS block available as well. In literacy, the focus is comprehension, inference making, and writing, and those are huge. So those 3 areas are enormous, and those concepts spiral through poetry, through nonfiction, through fiction. So really, there's just so many lenses that you can look at that through. For Tier 2 math intervention, we've had it's been phenomenal this year, and I have to say thank you for bringing us the tutor that we have this year. It's made such a difference. Now students are working 1-to-1 or 1-to-2 with that tutor, which makes all the difference in the world. Every error, every question about what it is they're thinking is addressed. It's much more personalized. So again, thank you for listening and bringing in that tutor for us. We are using the UA and RAMS blocks as well. Our focus has changed a little bit. I was more broad last year with IXL and the ALN instruction, so the All Learners Network, and some of what we've learned are the high priority needs in math, what the high priority concepts are. We've now built up the program a bit where we're pre-testing. We're starting at the earliest skills. So first we use IXL, identify who needs intervention based on their overall score. And after they enter intervention, we're testing first the earliest skills, at the middle school level, it's usually just something like multiplicative reasoning, which is, a 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, to see where they fall on that. If they're okay with that, we're moving on to the next, and we're going through a progression to identify what the gaps are, put a plan into place to specifically and personally address those gaps. Because it's 1-to-1, 1-to-2, we have that luxury to do that now, which is really fantastic. And basically work them through up until they're at grade level, and then they can exit once we've gone through, figured out what those gaps are, and whether or not the benchmark should help us see whether or not they've met their grade level on those areas.
I just want to add one other game changer, I think, this year is that RAMS block increased to 40 minutes. And the UA blocks are around 40 minutes. Last year, RAMS block was our only block available, and it was 20 minutes. And so just having a solid 40-minute block has been also a world of difference.
So students are getting double the time if they're just automatically right out of the gate.
Yeah. So, our numbers, although much smaller than the elementary school, is a huge increase for us. We were at a total of 12 students per subject at this time last year, and we are up to 31 students in literacy and 45 students in math. And it's very tiny, but we gave our percent increases there. So I just I think opening up the UA blocks really allowed us to access a ton more kids, and it feels a lot better knowing we're reaching a lot more students that need it. So, go ahead.
And I will say in math, so far I've been able to pick up 100% of the students. Just adding that tutor, we went from a small percentage of the kids being picked up to everyone who's needed it has been able to get it. We have 45 to start, and the difference is that Casey's groups are 2 to 4. Ours, the largest size of our groups is 2, so it's even more individualized in math. And adding that tutor has allowed us to have a 274% increase in the, or 274% increase in the number of students we're seeing, and those students are being seen for double the time that they were being seen last year.
Thank you, Rose. On to the high school.
So for the high school, we'll talk about how we're different. So instead of reiterating what was said, do you want to advance to the next slide? Sure. Introduce myself.
Go back.
My name's Leah Barton. Joel Stembridge. At the high school, you become more specialized, so the teachers are certified, right, in chemistry or physics, the different maths. So it's thinking about how we can support instruction and students around our current schedule, which, as we know, is changing. And we have that 45-minute DSB in that time that the students get breakfast. And so, like, how can we best support teachers and students? So one of the ways that we're doing that is through, it's called coaching, but it's really a thought partner. So if you think of watching sports game tape, what you do with if you ever coach, it's similar to that process where a teacher will video part of their lesson, look back at what the students are doing, and we work with the teacher to say, ask them some probing questions and figure out what a student-centered goal is. So they then are looking at the instruction of their students. We then partner again and figure out, okay, how do you want to tweak that lesson? How do you want to help reach more students? Again, supporting in that Tier 1 instruction because they are the content expert. And we are focusing on the pedagogy, as Casey was saying, that they do in RAMS. And we co-plan and possibly co-teach, but we're really working on strengthening those Tier 1 instructional practices. So that's how we meet the needs throughout the day. I'll talk about push-in supports during DSB in a moment. We are working with leadership to strengthen the professional learning communities and professional development time period, as you know, again, schedule shifting. So we're taking that block that we currently have and we're increasing the instructional minutes. So let's look at our UBD Stage 1 documents. When are we going to put these instructional pieces? So that has been part of our way to support teachers. We are primarily pushing into 9th and 10th grade classrooms, again, just MCAS prep, but a lot of the coaching too, I was in a 11th grade classroom the other day, so it's not just limited to that, but that's our primary focus. Data points. Oh, I'm like, why is mine not switching? Data points that we're using is MCAS. We also have IXL, just like the middle school, course grades, and guidance referral. So this is really important. The guidance counselors meet with students one-on-one. They have an insight also of their executive functioning skills and can help refer to us. So this helps to create a comprehensive view of a student profile. And what our intervention looks like, it's twofold. So for math, what we're piloting this year, again, because it's a new initiative to the high school. So for DSB, it's going to be twice a week for a math intervention. We're utilizing a new program. It's called Teach to One. And what it does very nicely is it creates a diagnostic. So we have selected students from IXL, so everyone takes IXL, and then from that we have looked at the students that need additional supports based on their IXL scores. We've looked at their grades, we checked in with the teachers, and narrowed that into our intervention group. We will then use Teach to One, which is a personalized learning plan, and we'll give them their own, basically their own, what can I Road Path, thank
Yeah,
you.
Road Path, yeah.
And what it does is it links to our Reveal curriculum. So say we're starting next month in December, and they're working on slope. What Teach to One does is identify all the lagging skills that students need to be successful in slope in their classroom. So if they have mastered certain skills, that moves that aside, and will focus on just on those core areas that they can be successful. So the students will, we hope, will be more likely to want to come to the support because they'll be seeing the impact in their current classes. So instead of trying to fill a hole randomly, what this does is helps to build a bridge to their current class. So that is the pilot for math that we're going to work with. In addition to that, we do executive skills during the other days for DSB. So as you know, students develop executive functioning skills into their 20s, and when they come to high school, even though they look like adults, they're not, and sometimes they need just a little bit of support. So we're that one-on-one area wherever they can come in. Guidance often refers students to us. We've looked at grades and kind of pulled kids that way, and sometimes they just need a few minutes of figuring out how to prioritize. We give them some choices of a menu, hey, do you like this organizer? And they will select what works for them. We have check-ins and they kind of come back. We work on study skills, so it's a really one-to-one area for whatever executive skill that they need. So that's the intervention side, and then also the teacher side. So right now, our numbers are pretty low as far as DSB time because we only have that 45 minutes. So for executive skills in grade 9, we have 9 students that, again, we pop in and out. Sometimes students are there for using a quiet space. Sometimes they're there for us checking in on them. But that's currently for 9th graders. And we have about 5 upperclassmen. And then for math, we are piloting 10 students for that DSB. But where that Tier 1 big support comes in is so far we've participated with 6 teachers in coaching. And so that, again, that reflective practice and having that impact all of their students is where we're hoping to see the growth. And currently it's just us.
Thank you very much, high school. Now moving on to Unified Arts.
Hello, Ida Pappas. So my job's a little different. And this is just some of the things that I do with my job. I think of myself as an advocate for the teachers in UA, and so I attend all the meetings in all 4 schools to make sure that everybody's up to date, etc. I coordinated events. If you go to an event, you see me usually, and behind the scenes organizing, making sure the program is done and everything's spelled right. I also deliver a lot of professional development with UA. All the initiatives for Ruler in the elementary school, but also in the curriculum meetings, we're doing a lot of stage 2. So we're training on how to create rubrics, et cetera, to match the transfer tasks in their stage 1 documents. Obviously, like everybody else, updating all the curriculum documents in the website. I would say UA is about 98% fully articulated on the website, which, that's been a lot because I think we were behind most departments. So I'm very proud of the hard work of my teams. We get all kinds of crazy textbooks and stuff from overseas because of our French immersion. So it's a lot of just trying to vet new materials and then deliver them. Onboarding new staff for whatever reason. UA sees a lot of new staff, and so it's a lot of making sure everybody knows what the curriculum is, etc. We look for grants all the time. We're trying very hard to sort of get funding in different ways. And we have a lot of community partners with the UA. So just some of them, I've been working with the Holliston Drug and Alcohol Awareness Coalition. I have regular consultations with the French consulate. We have a seal by literacy group that is statewide that I'm part of. Safe Routes to School have offered a bunch of curriculum connections for us, and obviously our booster group. So we have a lot of people that we're working with, and then there's lots of DESE trainings, et cetera, for my 5 areas. So that's 5 disciplines across 4 schools. So I wanted to just bring you up to speed on what the Seal of Biliteracy is. We talk about it a lot, and I realized I never really formally sort of launched what its purpose is. So this is all from DESE. I don't need to read all of it, but it is a recent sort of addition to our portfolio of things that we offer students through the state. It only started in 2018, and of course we had COVID in the middle of that, so it was kind of a start and stop and start again. But it's based on a student's exam in a language, and now it's any language, your home language or one that's we offer in the schools, but also your MCAS ELA score. So they have to have a certain score in both of them in order to be able to earn the seal, but there's also a seal with distinction. And this is a very difficult thing to get. I just want you to know that this is not easy. This is not for everybody who comes and takes the test, just so that you know that. The purpose is really interesting, and I went to the DESE. They had a meeting, a hearing about the Seal of Biliteracy, and I was amazed at how many people were there. There's a lot of communities that are really very much engaged with the Seal of Biliteracy, and the reason is because it's allowing some of our students who have a language, who maybe are new to the country, to be able to use that as leverage towards maybe their college application or even the job, a job-seeking situation. We do need bilingual people, but what I like about it is it's not just that they're proficient in their home language, but they have proven proficiency in English as well, and so it is really an honor to be able to earn the seal. One of the other things is this is the state trying to support schools in keeping their world language programs vital. It's easy to think, oh, I don't have to take that next language level, like in their junior or senior year. But when you get so close to earning the seal, it is a great motivator to taking another year of a language, just to push yourself even a little bit further. And we're trying to support, our global society, to value it, to really put our money where our mouth is as far as seeing that as important for the people we're presenting to, the future generations. And next slide. So I wanted to share with you, this is just from last year. To be honest, I got involved very much last year, just because I didn't know a lot of the ins and outs when you had asked me before. And so I was a part of the testing sort of cycle in 2024. And I was pretty impressed with the students that arrived. They came in a variety of languages, Arabic, Portuguese, Russian, Chinese, French, and Spanish. We assumed it would be French and Spanish, obviously, but we're just starting to get our feet under us as far as advertising to schools or to the community that students can take this test in any language. And we also opened the door to more students across the school. It used to be only offered to juniors and seniors because it's tied to the MCAS, 10th grade MCAS. We don't really see the evidence of that until 11th grade. But this year we opened it up to all the students, and I was impressed that we had several underclassmen come and were adamant about taking this. And what I love about it is the parents get involved. They're like, wait, you can go and take this test, on our home language, and so they very much get involved in making sure their child is signed up. So we had a total of 143 tests. That's pretty remarkable. That's not, some of those are retests, so the seal is in 4 different modes of communication, and a student can retest in 1 or 2 of those modes. So 143 tests is all the tests all together. So I had to do a little digging to get some of the data as far as our sort of longitudinal data, historical data, and this is what it looks like. You can see COVID in the middle of it kind of took our knees out from under us, and not just because it was difficult to take a test or even really get organized to do it, or even have the teachers pressing you to do the test during those COVID years, but our skills also, you know, teaching a language in a classroom and teaching it online for, you know, however long it was, you know, really has been a challenge for us. And I wanted to show you in this bottom corner, I know it's really tiny, I wanted to show you, and this is just people, students that have passed the seal part. The underclassmen, we don't have their MCAS, but look at that. 9th grader earned the seal already in Portuguese. And a Russian student, a student speaks Russian, has the seal with distinction already in 9th grade. That's pretty remarkable. And we already have 5 10th graders that have earned the seal, and we have 10 11th graders who have already earned the seal, and they aren't even seniors. So one of the things that I do is working with the teachers is hearing what they want and what they need for professional development. It's very difficult across the state for disciplines to get discipline-specific professional development. Teachers are required to get a certain number of hours of professional development, and in these kind of discrete disciplines, it's hard for a school to offer it, and we are required to. And so it's been my push since I've come to really allow them a place where they can build their skills, and also a lot of these areas have gotten new standards. And so getting them all on board, like wellness last year got new standards, and they're pretty different. So we had to have some very special PD specific to wellness for those teachers. But I just wanted to highlight some of the things that happened in November on November 4th. Library, we had 2 initiatives that we talked through. Elementary, they really want to grow their library holdings, their collections, and make them more diverse. So we found something through the American Library Association. And then also in the secondary, we are working with ELA at Rams and trying to tie the library resources and some of those standards to the curriculum in ELA as a better support for students. So we found an ALA webinar that actually really connected with that in a good way. Performing arts, there's such a small group. To have something here for, you know, a handful of people is hard. So we found Groton Hills Performance Center. If you have not been to Groton Hills, you should go. Just even to walk through, it's like a masterpiece in architecture. But their music programming is fabulous. So when they had a PD for the local music teachers, performing arts teachers, I was very interested. They raved about that day. They haven't had really invigorating PD. I mean, we did some assessment stuff. They weren't as invigorated, I'm just saying. But they came back saying, "Oh my gosh, that was the best."
I want to go next year.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try and skip town and go with them if they have it again. Wellness, I had a couple different people who I wanted to bring in. I was really excited about, and they were like, "Well, we're presenting at this conference on that very day. None of us are available. Why are your people not just going to the conference?" And I kept looking for somebody to bring in, and it was just like everybody's there. So it made sense to send all of our wellness staff, PE and health teachers, to the conference in Worcester, and they have obviously a smorgasbord of things that are specific to their area and also their age group. The two things I'm really proud of that happened was 2 sessions that I designed myself and found the presenter. This one was visual arts. I worked with a professor at Mass Art. The visual art teacher said to me, please, can you please allow us to make some art? And I was like, yeah, why don't we do that? So what I did was I worked with this professor, Rachel Rizzo, and I told her what we're looking for in a session, and she and I created the slides, every single thing about it, and presented it to our group. We offer these things to the entire state. I send it out to professional organizations. I send it out to web, Facebook pages, word of mouth, and we had 7 districts come and participate with us. Every one of them came out and said, wow, I really needed that. That was amazing. So, and again, it's focused on transfer tasks in the classroom, which is what our whole district is really sort of getting behind. The second one, this one was pretty mammoth-sized. If you were here that day, there was like an army going through the building that nobody knew one of these people. So this is Dr. Catherine Ritz. She's from BU. She is the head of their department. She and I spoke. I talked specifically about what our teachers asked for. French immersion was like, we care about verbal proficiency. That's what we care about. And anytime I offer anything else, they go, yeah, but we don't care as much about that. We really care about verbal proficiency. And when we looked at VCL biliteracy data, that was saying that we need to up our game in verbal proficiency. So Dr. Catherine Ritz and I said we need to design this together. And again, performance tasks based on that verbal proficiency, speaking in the classroom. So she and I created sort of the session, and these are the little flyers that I sent out to everybody and their uncle about our sessions that we're offering. And we discussed about what we charge for them, and we talked about it, and we thought, it has to be reasonably priced or they won't come. We could price ourselves out of having a nice crowd. Well, we had a nice crowd. We had 95 people from 19 districts, and I'm talking across the state. So these other districts rarely get discipline specific. So I feel like we've kind of cornered the market on this beautiful thing, and so now people will check in with me and say, what are you offering this year? And can I throw in an idea? I'd like to see something on this. And then people are now starting to offer, hey, can I help you out? Can I, whatever. Can I spread this around or whatever? So we're pretty pleased with that, and the feedback was pretty good. And that's
Thank you. So that was Unified Arts. Many of the staff over there have talked about the science curriculum review, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but we just did come back together as a district. We finalized our vision. We are now breaking out by individual buildings. We will come back together in April or May in order to put together a proposal for you. We're also going to be starting our district MLL review beginning in December. That's looking at really our data and open architects and really talking to the ML teachers and district administrators and really realizing we need to do more for them. So we are going to be getting that in December, and all the MLL teachers from the entire district will be involved in that. And again, we will be coming back to you in the spring with recommendations of what to use. Some other things I just wanted to tell you. So the MLLs do fall underneath my departments. And just to let you know, this is how many students took the access test. And you can see that we have, you had 17 new students and then 75 that had taken it before. If you look at the scores there, we have a lot of improvement to go. So that is one of the reasons for our MLL review. So we need to offer them a lot more supportive, standards-based materials that reach all the students. Again, homeschooling does fall underneath my department too. I just wanted to let you know there are 22 students. This is the breakdown by grades. Once they get the plan approved by me, which is based on your policies, I forward the final plan to the appropriate administrator. And just to remind you, once a student turns 16, they are not legally obligated to turn in a plan. Some people love to do it every year, so I did give you the true numbers there. So that's just an overview. And before you guys have any questions, I wanted to go, because it ties into directly what they're talking about, I wanted to go into our other presentation, which is on our November PD Day, because you might want to ask about that. And I apologize. What am I doing? Oh, right. Too many things. Okay. So as you know, we thank you for having that November 4th PD Day. That really enables IDA to shine and offer all of the unified arts PD, but it also, by having a full day, you're going to see what we can do district-wide to meet everybody's needs. But just to let you know, there were some district PD trainings. Sorry, that was weird. There was school safety training that took place across the district. Jeriel worked with a lot of the counselors and support staff on MTS school refusal playbook, had some outside speakers come in. They were at town hall, very well received. Our MLL teachers attended a virtual conference, which they all wanted to go to. It's the Mass Association of Teachers and Speakers of Other Languages. You can kind of see a theme. We do ask our staff what they want and what they need. It's another example. Unified Arts, Dr. Pappas already covered. Continuum learners, we were really looking at how we can support them more in the general ed and specialized settings. The nurses had many different trainings, BU Shields mandated training, review of some new regulations, and finally some medical training. Now I'm going to go to Placentino, and I'm going to go back to these guys and let them talk. Thank you. And these are just the broad categories, so yes.
So
yeah.
This day was exciting because there were so many different options available for staff, and we spent a lot of time planning it to try to make sure that all of the different people in our building had something that was meaningful and relevant to them. So special educators worked on, writing measurable goals. Michelle Hastings did a great session on Seesaw for each grade level and sort of different ways to use that both as a communication tool and a digital portfolio. I did a session with every grade level based on our work with the school kit consultants around analyzing rigor and standards alignment. So we had some really interesting conversations there. Our SLPs did some, topic-specific work. Standards-based report cards, as you've heard, that's been a huge focus, and so a lot of work time and supporting teachers on building those rubrics and reading and revising and editing again and again and again.
And then the last three are all math-focused ones. A big lift for us at Placentino this year is Montessori 6-8. They are teaching 2 grades at the same time. So we're doing a lot of kind of balancing teaching 2 grades and the Eureka Math Squared content. So they did a lot of work on meshing the 2 grades. I ran a station, I guess, in the morning. We added a brand new standard to the ROSP in K through 5. It's one of the math practice standards is now on the new ROSPs. So we ran a session on that for all the general ed teachers so they had a better understanding of what that meant. And then in the afternoon, I actually had all the moderate special educators with me, and we talked about how to use Eureka Math Squared within their specialized instruction so that kids had some consistency while still getting their specialized instruction.
Thank you. On to Miller. And I know there's one thing, but you guys need to expand on it. I kept it very general, right? So expand. I knew you were going to be here, so.
So we did a lot of work on the new standards-based report card and a lot of new learning around the standards and what the standards look like at the various levels of meeting, achieving, approaching, exceeding, beginning, and how what the expectation is in the classroom and how to help our teachers meet the needs of all our learners so that we could show progression throughout the year so that they could meet the standard by the end of the year. We worked on in grade level teams collaboratively to make rubrics to support student learning in the classroom. What are we assessing? How are we assessing? What does it look like? What's the expectation? What's in grade 5? Where's the bar set? And how can we get our students there? So really just building an understanding around the new report card, around what standards we're assessing, around what those standards are actually asking our students to do. You could spend a whole day in one standard and unpacking it. They're so dense. So just having that time to really focus in on and hone in on, like, what are we trying to have our students do? How will we get there? Within those conversations, I took the science team, the departmentalized 5th grade team, and we noticed that we're evaluating students on writing and science. And what does that look like? And I know Caitlin's been doing writing with the other grade levels, so having that time to have those vertical alignment conversations about writing, what's our expectation of students in writing throughout all grade levels, and how does that progress? What does that look like? Was
all the domains.
In all the domains. It definitely was very impactful, and we still have a lot of work left to do, and we're going to continue that work in curriculum meetings and PLCs.
I think it's really important to emphasize the fact that the reason why there's so much learning that needs to happen with a standards-based report card is because we're moving from teachers who have been using percentages and talking about achievement on a percentage level versus what can they do, how are they approaching the standard, and can they show that they have mastered the standard. So I think it's just changing the framework of our thinking, and that's why, as Ashley was saying, we had to spend so much time on this, because we have teachers that have been just always giving a percentage and looking at that and then giving their report card
for that moment in time, instead of looking for the end of the year.
Exactly. Instead of saying at the end of 3rd grade, we expect students to be able to do this. So I think it's really important to emphasize that when they enter 3rd grade, they should be at beginning, right? Unless they're a student that maybe is at that progressing level. But most students at their baseline are at beginning, and then as they progress through the year, they're going up those rungs. So from beginning to progressing, approaching, meeting, and exceeding on the report card. So I think getting getting ourselves in the right mindset and making sure that all of the educators were on the same page with this was extremely important in our work, especially with the report cards coming out so soon. We wanted to make sure that we were all aligned in our thinking, and we also want to make sure that the community understands the thinking around it as well. So when when guardians are calling in asking questions about why did my child receive this on the report card, we can genuinely speak to this is where they're expected to be at this point in time in regards to the standard at the end of the year, and teachers will be able to feel empowered to explain that to parents. So that's really why we focused on that.
And one of the ways we helped deliver that content was Caitlin had this great visual of, like, you're learning how to ride a tricycle and your parents holding you, right? So you're on the tricycle kind of being pushed. That would be our beginning. Next level up, okay, I could do the tricycle with the training wheels, right? I'm good, feeling pretty solid. Which one's that?
The bicycle.
Progressing.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, progressing. Then you are trying to learn to ride a two-wheeler. Your parents holding you, you're not falling. Then you're you're riding that two-wheeler, you're feeling pretty good. Then exceeding, you're popping wheelies and doing BMX tricks, at the bike park. So just kind of having that visual to help, understand the different levels of achievement. And trying to also, hopefully eventually we're going to educate parents as well as to what that looks like. So just getting all our staff on board and the understanding and deepening our understanding of what exactly are we assessing.
And to go on top of that, the standards-based report card committee, myself, and the principals are working with Director McLeod. He is building a landing page for our website to communicate more with parents about the upcoming standards-based report card. So that will be coming up. Going on to RAMS. I don't want to steal your thunder.
So we all stand back.
We've kind of talked about some of this already. Our special education department worked on access and alignment, where they looked at UBD mapping and curriculum writing and design for Tier 3 instruction. So if we have mapped our content and working on our assessments in the general ed classroom, how are we making sure that students are getting an experience that's aligned with general education, and that they are having access to as much of that general education as possible with their still specialized instruction, and just making sure that we're all working towards that common goal together. Math.
I was just gonna we need to delineate here. So we had All Learners Network come in, and we specifically had All Learners Network in math focus on our goal this year. We really want a common thread throughout the PD, throughout the building. So we had All Learners Network talk to us about building capacity in transfer tasks and performance assessments. They are daunting to kids. There are kids who ask something open-ended, really don't know how to tackle that. So giving our teachers capacity to, or pedagogy to help them ease students into ownership of a task and build that comfort level in attacking something new and different that may be more open-ended from what they're used to. So they really were a great help with that. And then later in the afternoon, our consultant helped our teachers write actual transfer tasks or revise their assessments so they were more transfer task aligned if they weren't already.
In ELA, social studies, science, and our computer science teacher, we worked on stage 2 UBD mapping in the morning, really reviewing what a transfer task is, and kind of setting the stage for a good chunk of work. We had done a lot of new learning during the September PD day, and the biggest feedback we got was like, okay, we just learned a lot. Now we really need to dive in to the work. So our morning was really brief in terms of reviewing that. And then teachers worked in their grade level subject area cohorts and spent a lot of time diving into what those assessments will look like in their classes. We also wove in, Seth Golder is our librarian, and he created a rotating schedule to also meet with subject area, grade level subject area cohorts to talk about research and project-based assessments, completely tied to the transfer tasks, but looking at how he can collaborate with them, bring in the curriculum that he does as a librarian, support teachers, looking at research skills, and kind of looking at the resources that are done in the library with projects and performance-based tasks so that he could support the work that they're doing. And that was all in the morning. And then in the afternoon, our grade level leaders led an executive functioning lesson development session so that teachers could continue developing what they offer for that Tier 1 executive functioning in Rams block.
Thank you. Bring on to the high school.
So, yeah, there's going to be a new schedule next year. Did you hear that? So, and as challenging as it was to select a new schedule, that was probably in many ways the easiest part of this task, because the real huge shift is going from 80 minutes a period for half a year to now 60 minutes for an entire year. And it's not just as simple as saying, well, that 1 week unit is now a 2 week unit. You have to really think through, and we didn't want this opportunity to pass us by to really think about how to approach this from a student engagement perspective and what do we want our students to get out of this shift. So that work really began over the summer with individual teachers doing some curriculum work and starting to think through for many of our subjects. It's extra minutes and time, and so what other topics or activities do we want to add in to the year? For math and algebra and geometry, it's actually condensing because those classes are offered each semester, and so now it's going to be, instead of a full year, it's going to be condensing it down. So that's identifying what are the essential skills and tasks we want. And so earlier in the year, in September, we spent some time working with our teams on professional learning communities and developing that skill set for our teachers, and working on and thinking through engagement strategies. And so in November, we started, we'll continue in January and March, having teachers work together in these different PLCs. So when we say PLCs, we mean like the physics teachers together or the English teachers together. English teachers working based on each year. So 9th grade teachers working together, 10th grade teachers, and so on. And thinking through what do we want our students to know and be able to do, and then so what activities do we want them to be able to do in class, and then what are the teacher actions that we would want the teacher to be taking in order to have all that happen. And so that's the work that started in November, but it is a very heavy lift, and it's going to take a lot of time to do. And so we'll be continuing that in January and then in March.
Thank you. So we have a wealth of expertise and great information and work that this team is doing across the district, impacting a lot of students for the better, and we just wanted to share some of the work that's happening. So thank you, team.
Thank you. What's going on? Questions?
I have a couple.
Okay.
Well, the others had questions. I thought everyone was.
I have some. But
Okay, go ahead. I'll finish up.
Okay. Well, thank you all, first of all. I think I said this last year when you presented that when you talked about your roles, it sounds like you're describing the work of 10 people. So I appreciate your commitment, and I appreciate the way that you frame this in a way that your role is really supporting your teachers and students. And I really see that in how you outlined your roles. I think last year I asked most of the questions to the elementary folks, and your presentation, everybody was very thorough, so I don't have a lot of questions for elementary and middle, but I did have a couple for high school, if you don't mind. I was curious about, you mentioned Teach to One. Is that an online program for students?
Yes.
Okay, and so what does that look like for students? Is there a human component, like a tutor that is also supporting them during that time for math?
Yeah, so again, they'll take the diagnostic and it will give us that personalized roadmap. And what it is they also provide lessons, games, activities to support that. So students can demonstrate mastery through working through the online module. So that is one option. But they also have lessons and activities that we can pull and group together, and that's the plan. We have reached out to National Honor Society. We're not sure of how they will fit in, but they could also be potential tutors to have that one-on-one support. We would design the instruction. They would have that peer tutor to help them master that skill. Once they've mastered the skill, they take that post-diagnostic of that skill, and if they pass it, then they move on to their roadmap. If they don't, then we need, again, additional supports.
Okay.
And then we're also the humans.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll be like, well, and we're talking about 10 students total, probably 5 each day, which means 2 or 3 for each of us. And we're supported. It's really more direct, more like that in one-to-one tutoring than it is just, hey, go sit on this computer over there in the corner. It's not going to be that.
Yeah, no, that makes more sense now, because when you talked about it first, it sounded like something they could do outside of school, but now I understand the purpose of putting it in DSB and kind of the role that you serve with that. And what about the literacy component? So you talked a lot about kind of what math intervention looks like and the focus of that. Is a literacy intervention a similar model? Are you focused on reading, writing? What does it look like?
We don't have a literacy intervention planned at this time. Students at the high school level already have a second English class called Foundations, and so they're getting in a way, literacy through that section. And then by the time students are in high school, if they do need that direct literacy support, we have a literacy specialist who's not us, but comes through, so that support comes through a different direction.
Last question actually is for Ida.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about the Seal of Biliteracy information. I have a middle school student who is like, I'm going to do this, but I'm really curious about like our multilingual learners. I know we have a small population of multilingual learners, but this is such a great opportunity for them. What percentage of our multilingual learner students earn the Seal of Biliteracy?
I only have this. There's the data, longitudinal data has been a little, it's been like trying to compare an apple and an orange. The stuff that I have from last year is a great many of students who are multilingual learners. Usually their challenge is passing English. So they almost all pass, their heritage language test. Though sometimes they're very good at the speaking part of it because that's how they learned it, and maybe not as strong in the writing part of it. But it's usually the ELA piece of it that they don't pass it, so they have to maybe take it again. And that's a piece that we've talked about, like, all right, how do we reach out to them to tell them they can or they can't, or what is our process? So we're still working through that. It's a great question.
And just following up on that, with your multilingual learners, I'm really excited to see that some of them were even offered that opportunity as early as 9th grade. Yeah. So it seems to me they have the opportunity then to continue to retake it through high school. So do you anticipate putting in place some sort of literacy support on the English side? And it might be more of a question for you too, to help them and support them, since they do have that opportunity over a number of years.
Yeah, I actually, that was the first thing that we talked about when we met about the data, was like, so, I mean, I can talk about the world language piece of it, though a lot of it is heritage language. But I'm not well versed in the MCAS in high school, so that's a great question. I do think that we've got a couple hurdles to jump. One of them is making sure that we communicate with families in their home language so that they know that this is an option. We communicated very well, but maybe not in the appropriate way that everything is translated, because I do think it's those parents. So that's one of the things that we definitely need to do. We also need to sort of not just support the ELA MCAS, but we've just started making it a priority from kindergarten, that as we talk about world language every year during open house, et cetera, and in our syllabi, we're talking about Seal Biliteracy as the goal, because we haven't done that until just recently after the World Language Curriculum Review. We set that as like that's our target, our North Star.
And Ida, when did the 2025 Seal of Biliteracy numbers come out? Because I know the students are aware whether they passed or not, but does the school have that data?
Well, they haven't taken this year's Seal of Biliteracy tests. And also, one of the things that, until I sat there while they were taking the test, that I realized was an issue was, and because the French immersion students were in France. When the test was being given, and so there was a scramble, like, oh, we're going to give another day so that we make sure we scoop them up. But that was something I was like, oh, we have to make sure that we coordinate that really carefully. But because the exchange happens every other year, and it's always a little different, so we have to do better that way, for sure.
But other than French, we have all the other languages. That data. So we'll have that at some point this year, just to.
I'll have to get back to you. Okay. I mean, it's definitely grown. Like I said, there's 143 tests given. So, a lot of them were heritage.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. That's what I was going to. Yes, so Ida and I really strategized and kind of made a plan on what we need to do as a district to kind of encourage more students to take it. So we have a plan that we already have to do. We're meeting again tomorrow. So we put things in place November, December that we're going to have to be doing to kind of get it out there more to families.
And just going back to the standard PACE report card and the implementation of it, and I know there was a lot of support for teachers and understanding it because they're implementing it, but it's all very new to me, and I'm trying to just, and I had the benefit of hearing you speak about it, but what happens to the parents that know nothing about this and all of a sudden they have this? Was this communicated at back to school nights? Just tell me a little bit about the education for families, because this is really new.
It's really new, yes. So definitely back to school night, it was shared that that's to be expected, that a new report card is coming home. Like Dr. Menard said, there will also be not only a landing page as sort of like a resource hub, but building administration will also be, writing a cover letter, so to speak, to sort of name some specific things to consider. And that's something that the committee spent a lot of time talking about last year, and as we were, sort of sourcing examples and inspiration from other districts, we found some nearby districts that had some really strong, clear resources for families, and so we're planning to. That's sort of like our last step in this process, but we agree that it's a really important part of it.
I had a question on the Rams side. So awesome to hear like the math tutor has been wildly successful. How is that driving the immense increase in numbers? Meaning, understood we're going after, now there's access to go. Do we feel, is there something driving that need, or has that always existed out there and now we're getting to them?
Last year, it was a big need, and we could only start at students that were 2 or more grade levels below, just based on the number of slots that we had available. We only had Rams block, so we only had and we had 4 kids at a time, so that was a maximum 4 times 5. That was a maximum of 20. But then we found that the 20-minute Rams block period once a week just was not enough. So then our numbers cut down more because we really needed 2 periods per week. So now we have every block of the day is open. So every UA block is open. 6, 7, and 8 have their UA blocks at different times. It's plus Rams block. So far, we've been able to place every student in a section. And how we're working the sections that I teach are, if there's a place where there's more than 2 students, then I take that block and I take the surplus 1 or 2 students as my intervention group.
And same thing with literacy, the schedule change driving the ability to take on more students.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's just incredible. Like, because you see those numbers, you're like, wait, what's going on? Yeah. But when realizing these students were left behind because of the schedule, now they're changing it. That's awesome.
Okay. So just a few things, and I promise. Anyway, Rams block wasn't 31 minutes last year.
And
there
by the time you have everybody
in there, it was okay.
Everybody settled.
Yep.
Coming from Rams block all over the building, realistically, you had 20 good minutes in there, so it's more of, not that things weren't happening the entire time, but it takes a while for kids, especially kids that are at the very end of the day, coming out of a block where all of their friends have stayed behind. It's a tough time for a transition. Now these are scheduled into their schedule. It appears on their schedule. It appears as a regular class. Because of the changes, we're able to schedule it we're able to put information into Power School, and it's made it much more of this is a class. So I feel like we're getting a lot more out of the time that we have.
No, that's great. It's just important because I think, the 15 minutes went into the classroom, and then through work that Karen Manning did, and I think I'm sure you guys were involved in it as well. We were able to find some additional minutes to then extend Rams block. So I just want to make sure that
and Rams block is longer this year too.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So I just wanted to make sure that, like, there were at Rams especially, we were able to find more than, we had the 15 minutes added to the day, but then there was some additional sort of efficiencies found within the schedule to allow for the increase in Rams block.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure that the community is clear if we're watching this. We didn't just put the 15 minutes into Rams block. That was
the Rams block is about the same length as our arts classes.
Yeah, no, that's great. So that was all a lot. It clearly, as Hillary said, speaks to all the work that you guys are doing, and so it's greatly appreciated. Couple of things. A lot of discussion about data. Can you guys do you have direct access to the data dashboard? All of you?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Great. I just wanted to make sure of that. And then, not to put everyone on the spot, it's just pass fail the question. But no, and I'm just looking for a rough estimate. But could each of you sort of give me an idea of what percentage of your time you spend between curriculum work and intervention work?
How is that pass fail?
It
fell flat.
Okay. So everyone was laughing. It didn't fall flat. It's 9:24 at night, okay? And
it's not even 10. Go.
So to answer your question, I think it depends a lot on the time of year, to be honest. So, for example, I'll speak for Placentino and feel free to jump in, but, beginning of the year, it's a lot more focused on sort of getting those intervention structures up and running, assessments, data meetings, that piece, and then it sort of settles a little bit more. It varies. It's no day is the same. I think given, Kristen and I each, given her supporting the new, rollout of Eureka Math Squared and me being involved in the curriculum review, like that's a significant amount of our time. But we also, I'd say it's about 50. We do each spend about half of our day directly servicing students.
I'm spending that 7:50 to 10:50 in front of kids.
Yes, same.
And then the rest of my day is
a year plus, right? So through the cycle, if you will.
Yeah. Yes. And sometimes the intervention hours might be looking at the spreadsheets, looking at open architects, and trying to figure out which kids are going in, but that's still focusing on the intervention piece. It just might not be kid-centered during parts of the year.
Right. But now, both
of
half of our schedules half of our days are each spent with kids, which we're really proud of.
I wouldn't want any less.
No.
So with us, I'm not sure if you're aware, we have something in our water at Miller, and we have 4 pregnancies. So 4 maternity leaves.
Staying away from the water.
Don't drink the water at Miller. So Caitlin and I have been working really hard with the new staff coming in and helping train those teachers on Eureka Math Squared, on what we're doing for all the different platforms, on how to input your data, on the list goes on and on, along with how to support your students who are in there who are also intervention students. So I don't know if I could give you a clear cut this and that. Again, depending on the time of year, the data piece. Hopefully, Mr. McLeod can help us make that more efficient at the beginning of the year. That takes a lot of time sifting through the data from iReady and MCAS and going to teacher meetings and PLCs and just who has OT, speech, blah, blah, blah. So that's a big chunk of the beginning of the year. Then you're rolling out PD, modeling lessons, doing coaching cycles. And we're doing that right now actively with the second year of Eureka Math Squared to make sure the implementation of math is correct to reach our low-level students so that we're getting more bang for our buck and that all needs are being met and differentiation is happening in the classroom. We are also spending a lot of time I'm just dumping. Spending a lot of time working with teachers on when. So when students are at intervention, what intervention's happening in the classroom? How are you differentiating instruction? What opportunities are for our high-level students who sometimes get left out? How are we pushing them further while also giving us time to work with those students who need support and organizing your time? So we're creating resources and materials for those teachers to help support those students along with pushing into classrooms, like we had stated before, where students may not be able to meet intervention because of other obligations, and supporting them inside the classroom.
So I would say that we're about 50-50 as well. I mean, we do
Depending on the
track,
time of year,
depending on the
yes.
time of year, I mean, we do track on our schedules whenever we schedule meetings. We track, is this intervention? Is this curriculum, or is this both?
It's just a lot of overlap.
There's so much overlap with the work that we're doing with teachers and students, and we're trying to empower, now that we're, you know, in kindergarten, first and second grade, the children don't have a lot of independence to do, you know, their independent work while a teacher works with a small group in the classroom, and there's so many literacy and math foundational skills that are so vital that they have to receive, versus when they come to third, fourth, and fifth, yes, there are some students that still need those foundational skills. Most of the students, however, that need intervention, you typically don't need a full pull-out support. It's usually just a quick, you know, 8 to 10 week cycle with the classroom teacher working on a specific skill in the classroom. And then if they're doing pull-outs, we're helping support the interventionists in making sure that whatever pull-out services they are receiving are specifically targeted to what they need. So
speaking of interventionists and having, you know, my math tutor at the beginning of their leave and a new one come, I am training somebody all over again with Eureka Math Squared, providing them materials, working with them one-on-one.
Yeah.
So there is just a lot of support we're giving to everybody all the time, and it's fabulous.
Yeah. So the short answer to your question is about 50-50. The longer answer is intervention work, yes, is face-to-face with students, but it can also be us working with teachers to say, hey, this student is struggling. What are we going to be providing to make sure that they
let's make a plan.
Get the boost that they need, and let's make a plan, and let me provide the materials for you and show you how I would do this, and now you can do it, right? Because we want to make sure that we're also empowering our educators to be able to meet the needs of their students.
Great.
So at Rams, I feel like it's a little more complicated because we had one model.
More complicated than that?
Yes. Well, the thing is, we had one model last year. So we had to take the model that we had last year and then figure out, okay, now I'm getting a tutor. Now I need a systemic approach that I can disseminate to a tutor. I need to...
You have more time.
What's that?
You have more time.
Yeah, oh, yeah, more time with planning for individual students, and kind of just, it's again, I don't think Rams has found its stride yet as we're figuring out, as we're changing models from one to a next, because last year clearly wasn't enough. Now we had to figure out what kind of parent communications, et cetera, would go out. How are we going to record our grades? Are we going to record grades? How are we communicating with our parents? It just brought a lot more students, therefore a lot more time that we had to kind of think about our process and what it was that we were doing. I'd say right now it's been over 50%, probably closer to 70 for me. And I'll let Casey speak on her time, but so it's been longer, but I feel like a lot of that is, okay, I had to revise the whole process, train a person who just came in, figure out what that dynamic was going to be and how we were going to support each other. So it's really hard for me to say. I would think that it'll get more even as the year moves forward.
Yeah, I'm probably more heavily working on intervention, but it's like building a plane and flying it at the same time. I am creating all the curriculum. I'm having to research the best practices, trying to make sure I'm not doing content and stories that are done in the classrooms. I've had days where I've created a whole unit only to find out the grade decided to do that story, and you know, it's kind of a constant work in progress. So and it's time consuming. There's no set resources. IXL is helpful for small skill practice, but IXL is maybe not your best tool for working on vocabulary development with reading comprehension in rich non-AI generated passages. The tools that we have are great for giving me data about what kids can do on those benchmark assessments, but it doesn't play into the content creation the same way it does for Carla right now.
And math is very sequential. It's a different beast, whereas I think IXL is serving that need, and at least like pulling from. IXL is easier for myself in this position than it's not as valuable in ELA, and we've kind of looked at that together, and what's worked for me doesn't apply in ELA. So we're just kind of working it out together.
In matching outfits.
In matching outfits today, yes. Thank you. We really did.
I would say for us, or for me, the amount of time that I'm planning and providing direct instruction for students somewhat matches the planning for curriculum, but that's actually like 25%, and there's this kind of stuff in the middle, which is like it's the sliding scale of when you're working with the teacher to help them provide better tier 1 instruction so that all students are able to access the learning. Is that curriculum or is that intervention? Because that's really the best intervention happens in the classroom from their teacher. So we spend a lot of time kind of in the middle.
That's what I was trying to articulate. You articulated that beautifully.
Well, I'm at the end, so I get to hear all of you and then think through.
Yeah. No, that's we mirror each other.
Okay, great. And Dr. Pappas, you were just curriculum, still, right? So I was really happy to hear, because it wasn't in the main presentation. I saw it was in the other one about sort of updates on UBD, and this is really, I guess, more for Dr. Bernard. I mean, we haven't really had an update on where we are with curriculum mapping, where we are with the sort of the UBD Part 2. It seems like we've now finally gotten to Part 3 for some areas. Do you have and I know some of the schedule changes at the high school and different curriculum rollouts have probably created the need to update even some of the curriculum maps that were just done, but do we kind of know where we are with that? Because I think we're in year 3 or 4 of this process.
So, yeah, all UBD 1s were posted, other than some, help me out here, no, all the electives.
Yeah, at least the UA.
Right, were posted. But now what's happening is that as we're doing curriculum reviews and the high school schedules change, you have to go back and revisit stage 1. Stage 2 is being worked on very heavily. Stage 1 will be worked on heavily when ELA gets done. Stage 1 will be worked on heavily again for science when it gets done. You're never done. The one thing about curriculum mapping is, if you understand curriculum, it's never done. It's a living, breathing document that needs to change with standard changes, with what DESE mandates are, with the needs we see with our students, all of those things.
I think also the additional time that was added.
Right.
It means district-wide, we've also had to figure out, now we have more science and more, in the element we added more science. So now that we have that time, we have to do the scope and sequence for those. And similarly, adding more time at the high school. Now we're planning for a new schedule next year. So it is never done. Having been a curriculum director myself, every year is a new year. You look at what you already have, and then you fine-tune it better. And then adding the standards-based report cards, that again helps you adjust, because then you look at your standards and what am I going to assess the first term, the second term, the third term, or all year. So every year, even though the work continues to evolve, sometimes you're going back to the beginning to add and adjust from the state.
And I'm really excited, we are doing all these curriculum reviews, but it does put all of those back on the forefront that you need to change all of those again. And people that are in our, roles and all of their roles, they know, it is a living, breathing document, and the teachers realize that too. And so even when you're getting, let me give you an example, stage 2 done, and they're talking a lot about performance tasks, they might think of one, and then they're going to be in their grade level teams and be like, you know what, we thought of a better one. So they're always, that's the nature of being a teacher. A good teacher is reflecting and always want to be more effective for your students. And so there's never going to be a point where we are done.
I will
nor
say,
should you be.
This is kind of what, though, I envision as a curriculum lens when we redefined these roles and I rewrote those job descriptions. Not perfect, right? Because it's a lot of work trying to do all of this. That being said, where we are now compared to where we were when I started, I was told by people, well, we did that in Atlas in 2015. And I said, so show me it. And people weren't going into Atlas. So that wasn't the way curriculum is. So great, it was done, but was it just compliance? We shouldn't be in a place of compliance. We should be in what do the teachers need and what do the students need.
Right, and that goes back to what Casey and Carla were talking about, the conversations they're having now, right? Those are rigorous, thoughtful conversations that you have educated teachers having discussions about what is going to be best for their students, right? And kind of having those conversations, and that's what we want, that discourse, that going back and forth, thinking out, talking it out at all levels.
Right, and I think it was always understood that these would be evolving documents. At some point, we've got to get to the point where we have 1, 2, and 3 done for everything, right? And then you're kind of constantly updating it as you go. But it sounds like we're still kind of mainly in stage 2.
Sorry to interrupt, but a lot of 2. They're also talking about assessments, which is part of 3. So it's kind of a little confusing that you have, what, no. Wait, what am I doing?
2 is the assessment.
Oh, that's right. What am I? I'm sorry.
3 is the lesson plan.
Right. I'm sorry. Yes. And 3 is never, if Ida and I are teaching the same thing, our lesson plans can look totally different as long as we're assessing the same standard. And we might have some common assessments, but hers and mine might not look the same at all.
Right, but we want to get to a point where everyone has sort of all of it, especially, the lesson plans are sort of also incredibly important. I say we have a number of teachers who are out on leave. If you had all the sort of the lesson plans, then you have a sub or someone else coming in to do it, and they at least have that base set of lesson plans, which they can then obviously adapt it to their own styles, but at least you kind of have that. So, we've got a ways to go, I guess, where it seems to be. So, if maybe we get more of an update on that at some point in the future.
Casey, did you want to add something?
Well, I have a question for Dan. I guess I'm curious about what your goal or vision is because we can get those maps done just to have them done, but it won't allow room to have some of the conversation that we're having. But I guess I just from being a school committee member and in a leadership position in this district and part of this conversation, what's the process you're looking for? Is it let's get it mapped first and then have those conversations, go back and have the conversations, but let's just get it mapped? Or let's have a conversation and plug through it. So just for a quick example, all of a sudden now talking about argument writing in ELA in 1 grade opens up a whole can of worms of how do we teach it in 6th grade and 7th grade and 8th grade, and it builds all this opportunity for alignment conversation and scaffolding and a lot of the stuff that you guys were talking about. And so I guess I just want to know what's the timeline of the goals. Is the timeline first just get it down on paper and then go back, or do we want the fruitful conversations and get a piece done and make sure we do it thoroughly? I guess I'm just curious because the answer to that question will totally direct how I run my curriculum Tuesdays, how I structure a PD day.
Oh, please don't let anything I say.
Well, except
on
you're
that.
the one asking for a timeline, or you're asking for a due date. Like, so.
I guess it was my understanding that
Yeah.
we were looking at a certain timeline from administration. And so what I'm trying to figure out is where we are now with that. Has that shifted? It's not so much even for me, for you to decide. I think that what you're describing is sounds like a good plan. It's more, we've, invested a lot in this sort of, unifying, curriculum maps to sort of have a K through 12, what's what I'm looking for? Continuous, education, so everything sort of moves, and so there you go, consistent standards, and it's unclear to me now really what the sort of the ultimate goal. It seems like it's shifted, and I'm just not sure where it is right now. And
I think it's shifted in a sense that, our teachers are at a point of wanting to have those very thoughtful conversations that's bringing a lot to what Casey's talking about. So you're having that alignment conversation now, which is extremely important. Carla, do you want to add?
I was just going to say that if we just wanted to check the boxes, we could probably produce that really quickly. But what's happening as we go through this stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 UBD process is we're finding, okay, we filled out stage 1 with the knowledge that we had and the training that we had with what stage 1 encapsulated. Transfer task was a box on that we didn't delve deep into what a true transfer task looks like. We're in stage 2 now. And as Casey and I did some deep learning ourselves to be able to explain to folks what an authentic transfer task should demonstrate from a student standpoint, we're realizing, okay, we all need to take a quick look at our stage 1 and make sure that what we put in that box as a transfer task really is a transfer task. And if it isn't, that we are working towards making it one. And then what happens is, because it's backwards design, you have to look at your big picture stage 1, you're moving it down to assessing how will we know they've reached this big picture, and so as we develop the next part of the unit, we have to go back and make sure that what we initially started still works with the next step. So there is some backtracking that just by nature has to be done.
See, I think you hit the nail on the head right there, because I think that what we did was we rushed through to get all the curriculum maps out there and didn't actually think about all the things that you just talked about right there. And so I do think that we, for a year or two, we're spinning our wheels just getting out these maps and not actually doing the important work that is now just finally starting. We're maybe not just finally, but for the last year has really been starting, which you guys have really been championing. So I want to thank you for that.
I think it's been happening, just so I go and do some kudos, like Ida, it's been happening in your areas for years now. Like, you've been having those rich conversations.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that there's a little bit of a training. Like, a lot of people will come and they'll say, oh, we've done this. I've been trained in 2015 or whatever. Well, this is version 2.0 and it's better. And so there was a little bit of shoehorning into a new vessel, and it doesn't quite work that well. So now I can tell you, by forcing it, then teachers are frustrated because they're seeing the flaws in it, and they have to go back, and they're like, they get frustrated. So rushing it doesn't pay off. It just makes everybody irritated. But I've been teaching understanding by design, and so I've been able to sort of hit the ground running on the template, and I was part of creating the template, etc. A lot of people are new to this sort of the whole process. So I feel like it's us sort of getting on the same page too. So my groups have been at it for 4 years now.
I think the bottom line is the teachers are engaging in this process, and they are excited at by the new learning around transfer tasks. It plays into, I think, a lot of their beliefs about students demonstrating their learning. And they want to do it right. And they want to do a really good job. And so I guess my question, and you asking your question gave me that segue in, is because right now there is this feeling that we need to just get it done. And I think our teachers are wishing that we could just do it well.
I don't think that's certainly coming from me. I think that we want to do it well. I think, Sarah, what I ask is at some point in the future we put on the agenda an update from administration on sort of what the plan is now. I mean, I think it's been morphing significantly. I'm just not entirely sure what it was. When I first got onto the committee, it was get these maps on from 1 to 2 to 3, and we're going to do this in 3 years, and it's going to be great. We're all going to be unified curriculum K through 12, and that's clearly not how it's playing out. I'm just not very sure what exactly it is that sort of the goal is.
Part of that's the curriculum reviews too.
No.
The new maps, we only just finished
multivariable
ones last year, and
schedule
then
changes.
Science is going. So that restarts all those timelines.
But that's also my point.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think to answer your question, I don't think we can give you more of an update other than what we're just talking about, because it's going to vary by subject, by school, and where we are in curriculum reviews and where that staff is in their learning. I mean, I fully support what Casey's saying, that we're now getting staff really hooked into that and having those rich conversations. If we go to Ida's point and just try to rush through it, they're going to be like, I'm not going to go back and do this again. So we need to do it right, and I don't think there's an answer we can give you, because it needs to be differentiated, just like we differentiate for our students, right? It depends on the subject if we're currently in a review. It depends what their understanding is and their comfort level is with transfer task. If we are having them grapple with that, you are upping the game in rigor that we are supplying for our students, and it's standards-based, and by doing all of that, you will see results in standards-based tests.
Yeah, Dan, if I could just add, I think it is differentiated by, age level and subject, but I do think we could provide a more articulated, like the chart Kristen's drawing right now.
Sorry, that's how my brain works.
So for example, we know now that the ELA curriculum review is wrapping in June 26. So we will be starting stage 1 documents 26, right? So we can, and 2 years ago, we didn't know when in that curriculum review cycle, those have shifted out of necessity, right? So I think we could provide that piece of sort of what's happening in the content area, who's in stage 1, who's in stage 2, because we are all in different places, but we do have clear timelines, so I think we could share that.
I'm also really curious about this process, so I don't want to keep us here till midnight because it's like a long conversation. But and I appreciate how much information you provided us. But I'm wondering if, when we talk about, at a later meeting, the curriculum reviews that you're doing, if we could maybe leave some space for this conversation as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I still do think that there's room for more, because I'm hearing that I'm not entirely sure that everyone, even those that are working directly on it every day, fully sort of are, at least have the same idea of what the path is, and if that's the case, I'm not entirely sure that the teachers could possibly know sort of what the path is. So some more of a.
I think we all know what the path is. I think we're just. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. I think we've communicated that our goal is, hey, guys, by the end of this school year, we would like to have our stage 2 documents complete. So that is the goal line, that is the finish line.
That'd be great.
But of course, there's all these little things that throw wrenches in the works.
Okay. I think lastly for me, we've done a few reviews, ELA, science, and it sounds like the recommendations are going to come to the school committee in May. But what I'm wondering is, are there going to be budgetary requests that are going to be tied to that? And I don't know if ELA maybe it's covered by the grant, But if we're not getting a recommendation until May, and the plan is to roll out the curriculum in September, that's not going to work.
Yes, so, do you want?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, you can take it. So, yes, that's been a large consideration, just, sort of reflecting on the process from the math curriculum review, that I think Joni's made very clear to our DESE partners and our coaches that we're working with that, yes, we're going to do this very thoughtful, thorough process. That being said, within the next few weeks, she's going to be, securing a ballpark number in terms of what would we be looking at that would help us support the implementation of new materials regardless of what we choose. The grant that we got was for over $220,000, which is amazing. It's very specifically slotted for different, like broken apart for different components. And so some of that will offset the cost of, and I'm only obviously speaking for elementary ELA right now, some of that will offset the cost of materials, but it won't completely cover it. And so that's been a very clear priority in our work that we need to determine that piece of it early on.
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to work logistically. We haven't approved the curriculum, but we're making a capital request for it. That's not your issue, but also I guess as Dr. Jordan, Dr. Bernard, Dr. Kuska, I mean, as we look through these requests, this time, math, we kind of just approved a big number for math curriculum. I'd really like to see it sort of itemized further before we don't have to necessarily present that to the town. But
can I just clarify? Do you want to see math itemized or ELA?
Oh, ELA.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think you said you're going to be piloting two.
Yes.
You'd be able to do an estimate for both.
Absolutely.
Correct. Depending on which.
Yes.
And science, if we're ready for science. And look, it's been a long time for a lot of these things. So I'm not looking to. I'm looking to push it forward. I'm just saying I just want to understand better all of this.
Got it.
We want to be able to support it.
Absolutely.
Practical component to that.
And then lastly, at the high school, as you guys go through all of your work on implementing the new schedule next year, my guess is yes, but are you working with Mr. Lewis, Dr. Jordan on any additional needs that we will have, money needs for that? Because we did do a small request last year.
What do you mean by needs?
Textbooks.
No, that was a joke. That was a joke. We just need to know where we're drawing the line. So yeah, we'll probably
don't draw a line. Tell us everything that you need, and then we'll figure it out.
Prioritize.
Prioritize.
Yeah, we'll try to get a prioritized list. Of needs. How's that?
We don't want to buy all these things and we need beakers.
Yeah.
My daughter broke one the other day, so I think they just test to it. I'm just looking here. Okay, I think I've gotten through my questions. I was trying to go as long as possible. No, I got one more. How is Algebra 1 geometry work outside of the classroom going?
It's going. We're making revisions to the process. This was the first year that we're doing it, so we have our two algebra teachers are teaching those sections of. It's not just geometry, but some Math 8 additional Math 8 standards that go in there. We've been able to change up a timeline for the kids. We're changing up the method of delivery so that we're giving them specific due dates and keeping them together in terms of what they're learning. So we're making adjustments as we go, and it's going well. It's a first time that we're doing this. So obviously, as we go, when we see a problem, we're working on remediating it.
Well, I apologize if someone put you on the spot, but I really do appreciate everyone's hard work and dedication to our students, our schools, and everything that you guys are doing. So it does not go unnoticed. I'm really appreciative of that.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
No, I cut people off all the time. Get turned by the store. Are we done?
Oh, no.
We should defer.
I know. Do we want to bump?
Yeah, we're done. I'm ready to go home.
You're ready to go?
Oh, no, we're getting the budget.
Budget,
We're not missing
we
budget.
might have to consider bumping.
Yeah,
There's a
we could
couple things.
Consider that.
Could we consider bumping? And I know the SSD search, that came in today. I mean, I had a chance to quickly look it over, but one thing I noticed is we wouldn't even be listing until January. So is it possible to have that discussion next time? Can we bump that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I put it
Because we
because I
still have
thought
to do
that-
budget.
I'm fine with that. I put it
Okay.
in because I knew that we had talked about it recently and wanted you to have some sense of.
And it gives people a chance to look at it, look back at some of our prior searches, and then we'd be ready for that full
And
discussion.
I kind of looked back at our other searches, but also I was trying to think of when you might have the new superintendent selected, and they would have the final decision, because ultimately, anytime we do these processes, it's usually a team that the
Right.
superintendent's not involved in, and the team selects the finalists, and then it would go up to school committee for public interviews as well as
Yeah.
selection with, so I feel like if we could get it closer to.
No, that makes
So,
sense.
and
I
then,
think we need to be part of it.
yeah, if when we do review it, we're going to meet once in December?
Yeah, December 11th.
That's weird. But anyway.
Is there a vote on anything there, or no? Just review?
December 11th, we'll vote on something.
No, for this.
You don't have to vote on that.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
just-
That's what I was
But
wondering.
so for our December 11th meeting or whatever, would it be possible to get the job, a draft of the job posting?
Sure, yeah, we already have the old one, and we can look at it again.
That would be great.
Okay.
So these readings.
And can we bump the readings, or is it?
Can we?
I would defer to Dr. Kuska because there's
Okay.
some timelines on a couple of
The
these.
issue is the competency determination. I have not done a waiver on that one because it wasn't due till December. So I feel like
Should we?
we should do that one. The middle school, we have a little more time because I have a waiver on that.
Okay. I can, if you get tired of reading, I'll jump
Well, should we
in.
do?
We'll
Do you want
this
to do budget
together.
first, or
We should.
No, just get through the
No,
reading.
let's do budget.
No,
no, the presentation?
Yeah, it's in a presentation. Dr. Jordan was supposed to go next.
Okay.
Okay.
So if we go through.
I'm here till the end no matter what.
We're really good.
so,
Scout.
I can go whenever.
No, I
We
just.
have it up here, so go.
Yeah.
We get that.
I can try to make it a little cleaner. Yeah,
It'll be really quick because we can't read it.
Can you see it all right?
There you go.
You guys
And
have
you
this
have it in your
Yeah.
folder as well. But to kind of dive into our budget, this is part one for those. I think pretty much most everybody was part of this last year, but the part one for the public is all of payroll. This is the start of our budget cycle. This is the largest percentage of our budget broken into three parts. This kicks it off. We jump into, after this, we'll do part two, which will be kind of everything other than payroll and special education. And then we end with our special education is our part three, and then we have a good picture of the entirety of the budget. That said, the part one is the payroll being the largest. It's the largest lever, largest impact on the budget. This is at, just to kind of give you a sense, I'm highlighting the overall percentage for our payroll this year is a 5.8% at this point. This is a very conservative model to start. Intentionally, we start with a pretty conservative model, and it works its way down. Last year, we started at this point last year, or 4.93%, and then by start of school year, we were at a 3.72% within our payroll. I would be cautiously optimistic we would be moving in that direction with some different hard work that we would do there. What's not, when you're kind of looking at this, some things that are not in here that typically drive our budget as well is there aren't retirements put into this at all. We don't actually hear about lane changes until March, so you build in an assumption on lane changes, and there's a conservative assumption for lane changes built in here based off of last year. And then from there, I'm happy to kind of answer any questions associated with this as far as like what kind of describes what some of these offsets, vacancy adjustments, different things would kind of describe. I do want to note that starred on there are the secretary's union contract and then the nurse's contract are two that have not been finalized or negotiated yet. So those would be kind of built in as well.
So just for the record, when you say conservative, it means this is not out of complete reason, but this is the worst it could be.
Yeah, I mean, we've had, so let's say, like lane changes in itself. We had a higher than normal lane change cost last year, and more than what we projected last year, and I had to adjust for that mid-year or midway through our budget cycle. This year, I'm accounting for that aggressive year last year and then a little bit more. We don't have a trend. We have a single year of data, but we're preparing for the worst case scenario so that we see it.
And I think teacher access to online courses has significantly increased, and also increased the ability to access them on the weekends and be able to take more courses. So I feel like we've seen a trend of people getting more credits in a shorter time as well.
What falls under other items?
Other items, which, so this is like what's not here that's covered in payroll. Subs are part of payroll. Our ESY costs over the summer are in payroll. Our OTPT, like extra hours that we do, summer maintenance, teacher professional development fits into our other items.
So I think, Dr. George has done a great job getting this together for us after having a late start or late sort of end to closing the year-end report due to some late data from the town. So really appreciate that. But I think, so for the community, the important things and how do you sort of put this number into perspective? So the increase here is $2.05 million, 5.8%. I think that to sort of level set that, when we put out the projection for the override, and this is now the 2-year out number, so even we had projected a $1.5 million total budget increase. Okay, so this is about $500,000, a little more than $500,000 above that number was about $77,000 above sort of where the 3.25% was going to be, and we made the pledge to get down to 3.25%. However, baked into the 1.5 million was about $400,000 of reductions from special education. And so as long as we're looking at this, and I know that you guys haven't fully run those numbers yet, but it sounds like as long as the trends there are still kind of in line, we're in the ballpark of where we sort of said we were going to be.
Line of sight.
We have lines of, however, that's just 3.25%. It is going to be incredibly important that the town is able to honor the 3.25% commitment that, and by the town I mean, the Finance Committee and Select Board and Town Manager, are able to honor the 3.25% commitment that was made at the time of the override, in which we built the size of the override off of. There is not going to be, it isn't the wiggle room, is really not there to come in below that. So there's line of sight. We are still committed to hitting the 3.25%. This number does not scare me. I don't mean maybe a little bit, but
it's under 6.
It's under 6, but as we go forward, that should go down. At the same time, as Dr. Kuska pointed out during budget stuff that we had yesterday, we haven't tried to consider any priority needs into that yet. So we'll see. Kind of last year we had some priority needs that were not just sort of priority needs, but were sort of really not statutory. What's the word? Compliance needs. So it may be that we're going to have to figure that out within the budget, but this is not some. We need the 3.25.
I do want to specify too, when we say we expected the special education to come down, it's because we're actually doing some really wonderful work to bring kids back into the district. So it's not illegally required to fund special education. It is to reduce the funding, but give back and make sure they come back in district.
It was age outs. It was increases in circuit breaker funding. Sort of as we caught up to that, as we hit on the increased numbers, we've also seen some benefits in transportation reimbursements. So The negatives is much driven. The negatives is much driven by higher reimbursements, but also some age outs that therefore sort of rolled
Age
off.
outs, but also bringing students back into the district.
That was all we were basing the model on.
Yeah, I would.
But seeing positive benefit from that. I mean, we did last year.
I mean, the model's based off some students that are aging out. Obviously, we are, driving those numbers. What the model didn't account for, like some of you get move-ins, you get some different kids in, but we've been able to balance that by bringing some kids back, and that's kind of held to the model. But I think the model is built off of some students that were aging out, but we've been able to kind of do that work to kind of balance it, to stay within what our budget projections are.
I guess the concern with age outs, though, right? Sorry, right? The concern with age outs is you might end up replaced, like the students may move in or come in.
And that's part of the reason, is in the last few years we've talked about the programs the continuums that we've added.
Yes.
So initially that's a cost because you don't have enough kids, but as we start to build them now, we maintain the kids.
Yep.
So the goal is to have less move out in the first place.
So it's a balance.
We had the Barbara and I had kind of initial glance and initial planning of our FY27 by looking at some of our FY26. Feeling really good as far as what we budget projected for FY26, including kind of our out-of-district costs and what that is as far as like where that was trending and needed to be. And I think that hopefully, we'll have a more firmer number that bodes well for our FY27 projections for special education.
But 3.25.
Yeah, we absolutely need
3.25. And I think, I've been
even more, but
trying to keep those conversations going. We obviously had the early meeting in July. I think, the town side is still looking at $1 million current deficit to the projection. So they're going to have to figure out how to close it, but not on the backs of the schools.
Okay. Anything else, Mama? So do we want to, we'll move on to policy. Should we just do the competency determination tonight? And we'll hold the tutoring and the middle school pathways for...
And I'm hoping you'll be able to waive the third reading and do the second and third together.
Sure.
All right, so read for the full thing for a second reading.
Just pause when you want to break and I'll jump in.
In addition to meeting the course requirements described in IKF graduation requirements, credits, and subject-specific criteria, in adherence with the Massachusetts Education Reform Law of 1993, GLC 69 1D, all students must meet the competency determination standard in math, ELA, science, and beginning with the class of 2027 history to earn a diploma in Massachusetts. The new statute states, the competency determination shall be based on the academic standards and curriculum frameworks for 10th graders in the areas of mathematics, science and technology, history and social science, foreign languages, and English, and shall represent a determination that a particular student has demonstrated mastery of a common core of skills, competencies, and knowledge in these areas by satisfactorily completing coursework that has been certified by the student's district as showing mastery of the skills, competencies, and knowledge contained in the state academic standards and curriculum frameworks in the areas measured by the MCAS high school tests described in Section 1, administered in 2023, and in any additional areas determined by the board. Do you want to go ahead?
For students in the class of 2026, a student who has earned their competency determination prior to January 3rd, 2025 in the areas of mathematics, English, language arts, ELA, and science to a passing score on the MCAS subject test or retest will be considered to have met the competency determination requirement in the relevant subjects. Beginning with the class of 2026, a determination of competency shall include satisfactory completion and full credit earned of relevant coursework aligned to the standards measured by the high school English language arts, mathematics, and science MCAS assessments administered in 2023. This includes the following: English 9 and English 10, Algebra 1 and Geometry, one of the following: Physics, Biology, or Chemistry, 1 year of United States history beginning with the class of 2027.
demonstrating a mastery of skills in English language arts, mathematics, and science in accordance with the district's grading policy on the final assessment, capstone, portfolio, or equivalent measure. Seniors in these courses are not exempt from the final assessment, capstone, portfolio, or equivalent measure, regardless of their overall course grade. All courses listed above are taught using standards from the current high school of Massachusetts curriculum frameworks and are equivalent to the content and skills previously measured by the 2023 MCAS exam. Competency determination. In ELA, satisfactory completion of coursework requirements, including students may have earned their CD in ELA by passing the ELA MCAS prior to January 3rd, 2025. If the student did not pass the MCAS prior to January 3rd, 2025, they are required to take the equivalent of 2 years of high school English language arts courses in grades 9 and 10. For mastery of skills through assessment or capstone portfolio, students may have earned their CD in ELA by passing the ELA MCAS prior to January 3rd, 2025. If the student did not pass the MCAS prior to January 3rd, 2025, they are also required to pass their final assessment, capstone, portfolio, or equivalent measure. If a student fails their final assessment in English 9 and/or English 10, students will participate in a portfolio review of prior assessment data to determine if they have met 60% of the frameworks included in the summative assessment, portfolio, or equivalent measure.
Now, satisfactory completion of coursework requirements includes students may have earned their CD by passing the Math MCAS prior to January 3rd, 2025. If the student did not take the MCAS prior to January 3rd, 2025, they are required to take the equivalent of 2 years of high school math courses, algebra and geometry, in grades 9 and 10. Math, mastery of skills through assessment or capstone portfolio includes students may have earned their CD in math by passing the Math MCAS prior to January 3rd, 2025. If the student did not pass the MCAS prior to January 3rd, 2025, they are also required to pass their final assessment in Algebra 1 and/or Geometry. Students will participate in a portfolio review of prior assessment data to determine if they have met 60% of the frameworks included in the summative assessment, portfolio, or equivalent measure.
Science. Satisfactory completion of coursework requirements. Students may have earned their CD in biology, chemistry, or physics by passing the MCAS prior to January 3rd, 2025. If the student did not take the MCAS prior to January 3rd, 2025, they are required to take and pass the equivalent of 1 year of any of the following disciplines: biology, physics, chemistry, or technology engineering. Science, mastery of skills through assessment or capstone portfolio. Students may have earned their CD in biology or chemistry or physics by passing the MCAS prior to January 3rd, 2025. If the student did not take the MCAS prior to January 3rd, 2025, students must take and pass their final assessment or capstone portfolio or equivalent measure. If a student fails their final assessment in biology or chemistry or physics, students may participate in a portfolio review of prior assessment data to determine if they have met 60% of the frameworks included in the summative assessment portfolio, or they may attempt to earn their CD in science in their next sequential class.
History, beginning with the class of 2027. Satisfactory completion of coursework requirements, the equivalent of 1 year of United States history, mastery of skills through assessment or capstone portfolio. In addition, students must take and pass their final assessment or capstone portfolio. If a student fails their assessment in United States history, students may participate in a portfolio review of prior assessment data to determine if they have met 60% of the frameworks included in the summative assessment portfolio, or they may attempt to earn the CD in U.S. history by taking the next sequential class.
Students with disabilities. The Holliston School District must both provide a free and appropriate public education to students with disabilities and must also determine that the student has met the competency determination and local graduation requirements prior to graduating that student. Students with disabilities who have been placed in out-of-district placements must meet the requirements of the competency determination policy of the placing school district. Discussion of the competency determination must be part of the IEP team's transition planning.
English language learners, the Holliston School District shall, on a case-by-case basis, determine appropriate courses necessary for English language learners to both achieve language proficiency and meet the competency determination requirements. Late enrolling students. Students who enroll in a Massachusetts public high school after their 9th grade year may be granted a determination of competency by the Holliston School District in one or more of the following ways. Transcript review by school counselor and building administrator. Additional course requirements as determined by the school counselor and building administrator. Meeting the standard for a substituted equivalent that the district certifies satisfies the same academic standards.
Current or former students not earning their competency determination may participate in the following appeals process. Students enrolling in the Holliston School District in the classes of 2003 through 2024 that did not earn a diploma due to not passing the MCAS may appeal the decision and request a transcript review to determine if they have met the competency determination requirement. Students enrolled in the Holliston School District in the class of 2025 and beyond may appeal the competency determination by participating in a transcript and portfolio review to determine if they have met the competency determination requirement. Exceptions to these graduation requirements providing for individual student programs may be secured by submitting a written request to the principal for disposition. Okay.
Are we doing a motion to approve and waive the third reading?
Yes, can I just make a request that you allow me to change that to who? It's underlined in red. It should be who did, and students who did not. Under. See what the red line is?
No.
2003, students enrolled in the Holliston School District in the classes of 2003 through 2024. That did not. It should be who did not.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to, before I did it. And yes, if you could waive the third reading and vote to approve it, that would be great.
Motion to approve IKFE competency determination and to waive the third reading.
Second.
All in favor? That carries. Okay. And then we'll postpone those other two policies. And we will postpone the student services search update discussion, but if there's anything else.
I'd like to bring you potentially a principal search timeline for the next meeting.
Yep. Okay. Yes, thank you. Joni, do you have anything else from?
I'm sorry. Teaching and learning newsletters coming out tonight or tomorrow, and all schools are actively planning for January PD.
Can I just add two quick things? I did put in the tech and the accept quarterly report, just for your information. You don't need to do anything with them, but they are in the folder.
Thank you. Dr. Jordan?
Yeah, a lot has happened between now and the last school committee around the federal government, and I just want to commend the community on their efforts to kind of get behind our Holliston food pantry or the Holliston pantry shelf. Those aren't aware, both SNAP and potentially our free and reduced lunch or free lunch, universal free lunch program were at risk with the federal shutdown. I was able to work with Lynn Bowler. We were able to identify and work with the state that while the funds for lunches at the school level were secure, there were still some concerns on the community level. So I just want to say thank you to Karen Jewett, who put together, for those who saw the communication, the SNAP sacks. I just want to really appreciate that effort, and I was happy that we could kind of communicate that out to the community. The other thing is just really appreciative for the work Lynn Bowler has been able to kind of do some work on the background when we thought about the risks that we would not have funding for free lunch, our free lunch program potentially past November. With Dr. Kuska and I, as far as in conversation with some school committee members, our ability to access some of the revenue reserves that we have to kind of plan for that. While we are safe for now. I am grateful that we've been able to kind of put some legwork in if this were to pursue or something were to happen in the future. I feel like we have some of the groundwork for something, a plan, if for whatever reason there wasn't funding for some of our most at-risk students for lunches or our breakfast programs. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Dr. Cataldo?
Do I need the mic? As I watch the clock going, I'm like, cut. So
Thank you.
I'll
Appreciate
get
that.
right to what we're doing. So first of all, I just want to say thank you to Eileen Radcliffe, Allegra Dennehy, Lena Robinson, Kim Mulligan, Emily Nupp, Hillary Bresnahan, Patricia Nolan, all who participated in the CPAC meeting this week again. Every time I meet with them, they are so gracious. I'm very grateful for such an active,
positive group that gives so much back to the district. And keeping that in mind, I just want to remind all of you how wonderful you would look in the CPAC neurodiversity shirts and hoodies. It's holiday season and you'd look magnificent. So it's time to place your orders if you haven't done so already. You have these beautiful choices in Holliston colors. Don't miss out is what I recommend.
When do they come in? Are they going to come in before the next meeting?
I ordered mine like 10 days ago, and I think it's taking about 3 weeks for them to come in. It would be a great experience. I was hoping, though, and it won't happen, but I was hoping to have it on the unified basketball game. That will be a fundraiser on Tuesday, November 18th at 6 p.m. right here at the high school. It'd be great to see all of you in the stands with me when I stay and help cheer on the crew. I've met some of the kids who will be playing, and if you do get your shirt in time, I will be glad to sit with you in your shirt. Mine will be coming afterward, but the best of it is they're going to have Basil's Pizza and TC Scoops. So if you're hungry, you can fill your belly as well as your soul, and I would highly recommend it as an opportunity. So I wanted to bring that up. I also wanted to say thank you to CPAC because right now they are doing CPAC Gives Back. It's gone out to the parents. You might have seen it. It's gone out to the teachers as well. And the fact is that it's not just for teachers. I love the fact that families can apply for the funds. I'm just going to read right off of this. But they can apply for the funds for items, activities, or resources that improve the quality of life or learning for their child. Educators must apply for items specifically related to special education. But the opportunity is there, and not every district has this. So really, I cheer on the CPAC for being willing to jump right in. I also wanted to share this week on Tuesday night that Dr. Jill Walsh came to the middle school. It was stupendous. She is a specialist in dealing with adolescence and technology, not something we talk about often anymore. But nonetheless, she was there to really reassure families about how technology ties in and how do we keep our children from getting addictive and how do we not go to war with our children when it comes to technology, because we know it's a very easy trap to fall into, especially because they've grown up with it from the time they're little. I don't know about you, but how many of us, when you're in the car, you were handing your child your phone and somehow they knew how to use it at 6 months? Well, I'm trying to still figure it out. But nonetheless, she is a professor at BU. She's the founder of Digital Age, which is a consulting group that talks about how to educate the students, families, and teachers and institutions about positive tech use. She came last year and she spoke to the superintendents, and it was a huge and really great message. So I wanted to bring that out. It wasn't the biggest attendance. There were about 35 people that did come, but those 35 people who came were really given an opportunity to hear about a great topic of how do we help our kids work with technology versus let it take over their life. And then last but not least, one of the things I want to talk about is the fact I really promised to get engaged into the district as much as I could. I know I've used up 5 months of my time already. I only have 7 left. I'm keeping boxes of Kleenex in my office as a result. But just in the last 2 weeks alone, I've been able to meet with 10 families in all kinds of meetings. I've been to 4 out-of-district schools to visit students and families and faculty, and in between we've had a professional day, which I would have talked about, but since the curriculum folks did such a magnificent job, I won't continue on that. But the information was terrific, seeing our people really giving back to their peers and colleagues, and I was very excited about that. I'll continue to jump in and do those things. I'll continue to meet with our families because it's very important. And every day I just garner more insight as to how the department is structured and what more we can do to have positive experiences. And I will stop because I know it's late. But don't forget your shirts. I will harp on you for those. I'm even going to send you the link tonight. You shouldn't forget.
Thank you, BJ.
Thank you so much. Okay. Do we have an update from communications?
We have not met yet, but we will meet before the next meeting. We'll somehow fit in between now and next month to really talk about the communication plan of the superintendent search. Now that we have more clarity, we have the leadership profile. I think, speak for myself right now, as a committee, subcommittee, now that we have the profile, how can we get that out there more so people can understand it? Like, it will be out there, but we have to promote it more. So let's really start there and then talk more in details. We develop the process with the screening committee, making sure the community is informed.
We're meeting on Monday.
Budget.
So yeah, we met yesterday. We convened at 5:01. Frank joined us 6 minutes later at 5:07.
I got called worse than Dawn, which is somewhat true, but typically like right in time to our time.
Yeah, I mean it's now Frank plus time. It's anyway. No, we talked about a whole bunch of things, but mainly it was the part one. So.
Superintendent Eval.
Yeah, so October 28th, we met with Dr. Kuska. She provided her goals for this school year, and we had a discussion about the usefulness of an evaluation, seeing as she's retiring in June, and we're searching for a successor. So we ultimately decided to waive the evaluation, and since that meeting I had drafted an agreement and sent it to Dr. Kuska to formally waive it. Since then she's signed it, and I'm hoping to get the full committee tonight to approve that agreement and authorize me to sign it on behalf of the committee as the subcommittee chair.
That's great. So I'll just entertain a motion to do just.
Second.
Okay. We'll do a roll call vote. So Joe?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Hillary?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Dawn?
Yes.
I'm a yes, and then Tracy's absent. So.
And who brought the motion? Did you bring the motion?
Yeah.
Okay, and then Hillary
Yeah.
seconded.
Yes.
Okay, just to make Lisa's life easier.
Yeah. Right. Great. And then math advisory?
We are meeting on Tuesday.
Okay. Do we want to talk about the calendar?
No,
Can we postpone that
the
too?
calendar. It's still on the radar.
That sounds great. Yeah.
We're not ignoring it. And then, to be clear, this is more. This is not about the calendar for next year. This is more the holistic. The holistic thing.
But it is 10:30, and no good things happen after 10. So.
Right. So the last thing I think we do want to do though is just vote on who will help negotiate the with the secretaries.
So I had offered, but I
Dan
could certainly be dissuaded.
offered, but would anyone like to join Dan?
Or two other people can do it, and I don't want to do it at all.
Do you know when they will start?
I mean, once I have the people, I'll reach out and we'll probably try to schedule for January.
Do you think they would be meeting like during the school day or after?
It's usually right after school.
Right
that we
after
meet,
school?
and it's usually gone fairly quickly. I can't predict, but one member would be fine for the school committee if everybody was okay with that. If you can't get two, and then David and I would probably just do it as well.
I can probably do it.
Well, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, Dan
So
and I.
I'll make a motion to appoint Sarah and myself as HSC bargaining members for the secretary unit of the HFT bargaining negotiating team or something like that.
Okay, all in favor?
Important part
That
is Sarah
passes.
and
Yes.
Important
So
thing, Sarah.
I think at this point we can adjourn to executive session.
It's been a while
To
since we
vote,
recorded 10,
from
so
which
we
we
gotta
will
use
not return. Yeah, it's sorry,
gotta get
it's
used to
late,
it.
I know,
Right.
I'm just,
for the purpose of changing
for the
the agenda.
purpose, yes, discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body, superintendent. Okay, good night, Holliston.
No.
No?
It's gotta be roll call.
Roll call vote.
And
okay.
we need a second in the motion.
So moved by Dawn.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Joe?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Hillary?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Dawn?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So now I can say good night.
Thank you.